Oh, all right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to two crippled, disgruntled fucking old guys bitching about shit. And it doesn't even fucking matter. Like there's fucking 17 other podcasts going on right now. So I appreciate you guys stopping by for the Handy Capable podcast
Oh
with
man.
us two retards and fucking doing shit. And you know how we do it with fucking with pop-ups. There's no fucking gay intro built in fucking Canva, fucking doing a copy of a TV show, like a fucking horrible copy of a TV show. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into it. Anyway, Shauna Corner was first. Thank you for coming, Shauna. Shannon was here, or Shannon is here. Fucking still got that going on. Fucking Krisha, my girlfriend is here. Fucking we got the fucking.
Where is her twin, by the way? She needed to bring a sister with her. Some fucking tell them that cripples just do it better. I don't know. That we're more diligent.
That's what I'm saying. All right.
We're more diligent. What are you gonna do? Push the chair away and say, motherfucker, do it?
No, we could lock it. We could lock it. That's the whole thing. Can't push it away. Once you corner them, if you lock it, they can't get out. Okay.
That's how you know you're a wheelchair amateur. Your brakes work.
Right.
Fucking amateur hour. Jesus Christ. Yeah, seriously. I go to the doctor's office today and she's like, you need these brakes worked on. And I was like, how this works? It's like when you push down on the chair and get in and out of it, it actually doesn't move under your weight. But as soon as your weight gets in it and you go rolling backwards, you scare the fuck out of the regular people around you, because they're like, what the fuck? Because the brakes don't work at all.
Even when I get it in now and my brakes do work, if I fucking just plop in it, I fucking go backwards. And I'm just like, dude, I cannot fall on my back, especially in front of somebody. Like that's just
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
In rehab, did they teach you how to wheelie a wheelchair?
No.
What?
No. What I still have is the
you need to request that shit.
I have the two things in the back so that you could only go back so far.
Yeah, you got wheelie bars. Okay,
yeah, I got wheelie bars. Yeah.
You got wheelie bars. Fuck that. That's some amateur shit. That shit gets in your way.
Dude, I'm
gonna tell you what you have
I'm okay with being an amateur, right? Like I don't want to be in this fucking thing forever. I fucking I fucking hate this shit. It's like it wasn't until just recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, that I'm like, man, you know what? I probably shouldn't have gotten it cut off, and I should have did whatever I had to do, even if I got like 6 more months out of it, because this shit is fucking fucked up, man. It's fucked up. The only thing they told me when I was getting the leg chopped off was that they were like, we're doing amazing things with prosthetics these days, so it'll be okay.
Wait. At that point, I'm like, bring in RoboCop. I want to see the proof of this shit.
Well, dude, I follow all these fucking retards on fucking on Instagram now who have the fake legs and are fucking killing it, right? I put my fucking fake leg on and immediately it's killing me.
Well, you got a lot of nerve damage in that area, dude. The area around the edge of the nub's got to be like raging.
Dude, like,
gotta be like,
and 7 weeks ago when I first got the leg, I was like, this hurts. Maybe they should make maybe I should get some kind of little padding for it, right? And they were like, no. What we're gonna do is we're gonna reshape the thing. We're gonna take it back. We're gonna do this.
You're like, call Switzerland and Tempur-Pedic and give me some fucking help.
Dude, 9 times after they did their adjustments, they were like, oh, maybe we should try a pad. And I was like, you motherfuckers, like you had these pads the whole fucking time.
So I told the wheelchair company lady yesterday on the phone that every one of her supervisors in her company, or perhaps the CEO or the board of directors, should be a crippled fuck like me and run all of them walking motherfuckers like her like slaves of the 17th century. And she's like, sir, that's a little harsh. And I was like, no, it's actually on point, accurate, because your company is shit and you operate like shit and you treat us like shit and you hinder us. We are mega hindered. This really, you're going to get no views on this show. The show's going to be like literal bitching.
No. Well, listen, there's 28 people right here right now.
The entire time
that there's 28.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up YouTube and try to pull up the chat because I can't see the chat on this guest.
Oh, you should be.
Thing, right? Comments.
Right,
there we go, under the comments tab. All right,
yeah,
guys. I'm sorry.
while
I've
you
been
do that,
missing
I'm
you
going to
guys.
finish saying hello to everybody.
Well, yeah, he's just got his girlfriend up there, right? So he's earning it, even though she already came and for her birthday and came for her birthday
many times.
I hope many
That's
times.
all I'm saying.
Right? She
All
just
right,
came.
all right.
She just went around the corner a few times.
We ruined our fucking hot girls in the room with Kevin from Sugar Skull. So thanks for coming. But then we go back to our hot girls in the room with fucking Python Patrol. I fucking love her. That's the old G.I. Joe logo, by the way. So I'm a big fan of that. We got let's see, Creative Korolov is Dick. I mean, Dick is always here. I fucking shit on him all the time, and he still always shows up. So I fucking love Dick.
The guy I always called a girl because of his fucking avatar on his thing was a fine.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he actually looks like the retired singer of Offspring.
Oh,
like
really?
like the retired singer now, not the retired guy 25 years ago. Fucking Danny Cadane is here. Fucking what's up? Jamie from Rising Phoenix. Lucas Landon. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Low Life Exotics. I fucking thank you for fucking stopping by, man. So let's see. Heretic Reptiles. They're new to my thing. Love you for stopping by. TJ Hutch Exotics is here. Then we got Scaly Piggies. I mean, that's just a cool fucking name. Fucking
Scaly
Piggies.
Must be Hognose.
I mean, it looks like it's two dudes, but
Hognose breeders. Is that what they do? Probably hognose breeders, because everybody thinks that's the next ball python when you just make a new morph and it changes the color brown slightly.
Yeah, yeah. So great. It's another pink baby that turns into a brown adult.
Right. Okay. I mean, look, I'll be honest. Some of them actually are kind of sexy as adults when they grow up, but they are not like zeros, guys. There are more zeros breeding them than there should be zeros in their price.
Well, there's more zeros in this entire hobby breeding.
Oh, stop. I'm still a breeder. You're not, you fucking race trader, you.
Will's Hella Heat is here. Fucking haven't seen you in fucking forever, man.
Yeah, I know. I bring him up the wood.
Look at this scaled worm. Fucking, I love that. That's fucking awesome. What's up, brother? Cane's Constrictors. No way is Tom Barnhart here.
Yeah, Tom Barnhart's here. I saw him on the list.
Fucking what's up there, Tommy Barnhart? What's up?
He's been around the block for a minute. I know
he's been around for fucking ever since Ozzy started, you know. Yeah, Blackheart's here. Fucking what's up? Thanks for coming. Look at this. Navarre Beach Balls. Fucking Jesus Christ. I mean,
they're coming up with it.
We'll just name our shit.
Seth went to the Repticon one too many times.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. That's old tired ass Repticon. But I tell you what, man, I used to have a girl I bring with me to that show that we have a lot of fun. That was a great show. She loved the
Repticon. I've been to like one or two of them.
No, but it was the Navarre Beach Repticon. So it was the perfect thing. Like, hey, I'm coming to Navarre Beach. I just need a dinner date. But I get to go to the beach? Yes. And it's done.
Done. Yeah.
Easy deal.
Well, that was obviously before you were in the chair, right? Because
that was when I was in the chair, dude.
You don't want to go to the beach in the chair.
No, I never went to the beach in the chair. She went to the beach. What fucking good is beach in the chair?
Dude, we were at the zoo this weekend and there was a little bit of dirt. And I was like, I'm not even going in there. Like hey, it's just
Christian, you need to go. You guys need to go on this wonderful trip to either Georgia, to Atlanta, to the zoo, which is, I promise you, all uphill. I don't even understand how you get back down to the parking lot because I don't remember going down ever.
Well, dude,
or Tampa, where every exhibit has a water exhibit and a land exhibit. So every exhibit is up and down.
Yeah.
And up and down.
That sounds like the aquarium that we went to. But the San Diego Zoo, it's a spiral to the bottom. And, you know, I did that walking and I was like, this is going to fucking kill me. And in a chair, I can't imagine. But at the Bronx Zoo, which is a shit zoo, okay? I mean, it's supposed to be like top 5 in the world. It is a filthy shit zoo.
I've seen it on Madagascar. It's the best I could do for a New York zoo.
It is not good, okay? It is definitely not good. But they let the retards rent a fucking motorized thing for $50 for the day. And I was zooming around in that fucking thing. Like you could go off road. I was bottoming out on certain things that I shouldn't have been on. Dude, I could understand how people become fat fucks if they have access to this thing.
Okay.
Because
you're
I would
explaining
not,
something to me because I'm in the South and I grew up at around the very first Walmart. So you're not telling me anything I don't already know about the fat
these
fuck
aren't
zooming
Walmart
around.
ones, man. These are fucking like hardcore, like you could go,
right.
Up rocks and shit. So it was like the Jeep of retard mobiles.
See,
right?
I would have to try that maybe, but then my pride would step in and tell me, in 12 years of being completely paralyzed from the chest down, I've never used a motorized operated wheelchair. The only motorized vehicle I've ever used is getting in my car and driving it. And most of the time it's me behind the wheel.
Right.
Honestly, I've never done. I was going to buy one of the track chairs, like action track chairs.
Right.
The ones with the tank treads on them.
Fucking
yeah. I was gonna buy one of those, and then I called Daytona and I asked them, and they were like, "You can run on the beach because it's a drive on beach, but you can't run on the boardwalk because it's an ATV." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I ran somebody tagged me in one of these, because one thing you will find, and I'm sure you have found since your operation, that people will tag you into the most anecdotal things. Like as soon as somebody has a leg that can move sideways or play ping pong, you're tagged in it. Like it's for you, right? As soon as the first guy in a wheelchair moves his foot because of a chip in his brain, it's for me, right? Sean, you need to do this. You need to understand the levels of injury, right? I'm a thoracic injury. My injury is here, right? My injury is not at the waist. Most people are like, yeah, he's paralyzed from the waist down. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm paralyzed from the high chest down. Right. I could just happen to still use my hands because I'm one vertebra away from not being able to use my hand. Well, not being able to feel my hands. Right. I'm T8. If I was T7, if you look at my hand, the back strap of my hand, these two fingers and this part of my arm will go numb and I wouldn't feel it. A T6 would be all of my hand, probably my left hand first and my right hand after. So as you go up the chain, or like if I have a bad day or I sit in a wheelchair too long and I'm too compressed, I'll find ways that I have numb hands and I have to move my spine around to get them back.
Right.
And so that's how it reminds me how close I am to not being able to feel my mitts.
Well, just think, like, for as bad as you have it, and you do have it fucked up, I'll admit.
No, I don't have it. Wait, that's the thing, though, right? Go ahead with your line. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you could be like fucking Superman, right? And have that chair that you got to control with your mouth and shit. And fucking, so at least.
And believe it or not, they do have a high-speed motorized wheelchair that operates off of a headband that monitors eye movements for direction and speed.
See, that would be cool. Yeah.
And it's insane, right? But it's fucking wild, bro. It goes like 15 miles an hour. You realize how fucking fast that is for a wheelchair? I mean, that's like insanely scary fucking fast. The guy built the prototypes with Recaro racing seats with 5-point harnesses on them to harness in the high cervical injured dude who probably doesn't have all that much to lose at this point, right? I mean, at that point, it's just like, hey, buddy, I'm talking with a voice box. Can you just give me a fast ride? I want to go fast again, and you're just like, bro, put him in a fast car, let him run off a cliff, make a music video. It'll be great, but I mean, fuck, who doesn't want to go out in the glory like that when you're in this fucking position?
Well, that's the whole thing at the zoo. I was loving the motorized one until Krisha took a picture, and I looked at the picture and I was like, you just look like you belong in Cocoon, you old fuck. Like fucking. And then I'm
the aging it puts on is kind of ridiculous.
I'm 50 years old. I'm diabetic, right? So I had a stroke, right? So obviously my eyes don't adjust from total brightness to total darkness in a second, right? It takes a minute for me to see what's in front of me. Well, they had one of those, like the hippie curtains with the rubber, the rubber slats coming down. Yeah. And I went through there, and it was totally dark in that room. And I pinned this motherfucker to the wall that I didn't even know, right? Like fucking pinned him. I was still going forward. I didn't even know he was there. And fucking, I was like, why is this not moving? This should be moving. And then I saw a shadow like right here. And I'm like, fuck, did I just pin a guy? And Chris is in the back going like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But fucking, yeah. And then one time I ran over Krisha. And then another time I went up these rocks that I didn't know you weren't allowed to go up there because it had like steep hills and shit. and I was just fucking.
Oh, you were really like roughing it then. Okay,
dude, I really was.
I
was going crazy, man. Yeah, the dude. Yeah, see the dude that I ran over.
She said that. Well, go to the one before. She said he was actually having fun, like fun. Laugh my ass off,
but you know what the worst thing about it was, and the most embarrassing thing about it was that when you back up, it goes beep, 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 and fucking when you're outside, that's fine, right? But when you're in an indoor exhibit and it's fucking, it is the loudest thing in the.
Dude, you're giving a bad name to guys in wheelchairs everywhere, man. And you got a good-looking girl. You definitely didn't get her doing that dumb shit.
Dude, no, I didn't. I don't know
how did you do that? What did you pretend to have 2 legs for a while and then just break it in after she fell for you?
No, luckily, the thing that I did that I noticed that got me attention.
Babe. You know what you need? Hang on. You know what you need? You need a sound like the ball shit. Like you need a sound of the beep, beep, beep. Like you need a beep. I think you need a beeping sound on your board that you hit a button.
Reprogram it. Yeah, fuck
yeah. Just send a sound into one of these buttons. You know, I really if I'd have known this before this podcast,
dude,
you know, one of these buttons would fucking do that shit.
It was so embarrassingly bad.
See, I couldn't do that. That's why I never sat in a motorized chair once. That's a lie. I did sit once, but go ahead. What got you?
Dude, it's not bad. I mean, it's definitely not bad. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but fucking it's fucking rough. But the thing that I think that got me attention was during the rehab session. I cried. I almost cried on a video.
Almost cried. Fuck.
I did. It was an almost cry. I didn't fully fucking break down like a fag and cry,
bro. I still get the occasional piece of ass, and I cry on video.
And that opened it up. You know, I was just like fucking, you know, whatever. And that got me a lot more attention because I cried like a fag. And if I would have known crying like a fag would have got me a lot of attention, I would have cried like a fag. Fucking.
Well, I mean, you do have the blue card, and the blue card does trump every other card in humanity.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. There's a red card that they have here. There's a red retard card where you could park in like a school bus zone, a fucking hydrant. You could park anywhere because you're that special kind of elevated retard. You know, and did you notice that they changed the fucking retard on the sign? It used to be just the guy with his hands on the side. Now the new ones has the guy like lean forward like he's racing fucking somewhere.
Right.
That's a bad name because I ain't racing anywhere, man. Like fuck.
All right. Well, that's the funny thing though. If you catch me in an airport, bro, like Chicago so I've already been told by the security in Midway in Chicago that I'm not allowed on the motorized walkways.
Well,
bro, you know the fast walks?
Right.
I jumped on there with my wheelchair once and sped through a clear one. I was so fucking fast, bro. They thought they were going to have a problem when I got off. Like I slowed down when I got to the end because if I got to the end and hit the actual static floor, we would have had a tumble set. That would have been fucking epic.
Dude, I was going to say, I bet as soon as that thing ended, you rocketed out like a fucking.
Look at that. You got a super chat from a guy who genetic tests on his kitchen table.
Fucking Charlie fucking rocks. Charlie,
yeah, right.
Charlie
like I send people to Charlie all the time. Charlie's probably like, Sean needs to shut the fuck up and stop sending me people who want to learn how to genetic test. Because, like, dude, I've sent. Charlie came up in my film. I'm gonna detract from our handicappedness and talk about some reptile shit for a minute and bring Charlie in the limelight. So this dude pops up on Instagram doing fucking genetic PCR testing on his kitchen table with some shit he bought on like Carolina Biological and stuff like that. So I pick his brain and he shares with me what he's kind of knows and who he learned from. Right. So I do some research and find out it's way too deep for me because I'm already deep in machining. I don't need to get deep in this. However, I did recommend to people like, I hate to say his name on this podcast because he gets said on another podcast enough, but Bill Stegall and people like him in the green tree pussy community to learn how to genetic test to sex because they're all too pussy to learn how to sex their snakes properly like good colubrid breeders like me know how to do already. They won't admit that they're all like worship Greg Maxwell's Bible that says you'll damage green tree pythons if you sex them as neonates. But if you never had to sex baby corn snakes out of the egg and you do 20,000 of them and you never damage one, you can totally sex a green tree python. So I can sex a green tree python right out of the egg, and I don't give a fuck who says I can't. I'll grow it up, and it'll have a perfectly fine tail. Fuck every one of you chondro fucks who listens to this that thinks otherwise.
Yeah.
Greg Maxwell
the
was a loser when he wrote that book.
To this, right?
What's that? Yeah,
The
Chondro
chondro
Coalition
fucks
is not
aren't
listening to this. Trap Talk fucks aren't listening to this. I would say this on Trap. When and if I ever get on Trap Talk for a commendable episode, we will discuss this. But I sent this information to Bill, and Bill was just like, "Have you tried it?" And I was like, "No, motherfucker, I'm sending it to you for you to try it. Look, you look like a guy that's got money. You look like a guy that's got ability. You look like a guy that's got free fucking time on his hands. You're just like some of these Europeans flying around, catching snakes catching tortoises on Snake Island with no shirt on, right? I watched Scott's fucking live feed the other day when he was in wherever in Middle East trying to catch snakes. These guys have enough time and money to fly around and do this kind of shit. They have enough time and money to spend to further his hobby. Right. But he's going to ask me, have you tried it? No, motherfucker. So he said he talked to Bill about a snake the other day. He needed some sheds, but he didn't respond to that. So it's fair. He might be working with other guys. But I'm like, dude, you guys need to look into this. One of the crested gecko guys also asked me about it. The guy, Brian, who hatched the leucistic crested geckos, who proved that project out last year. He asked me about it. And I'm like, dude, you should totally do this. Work with Gray Rider. Try to get something going. You guys can get something going together. You don't need to be with these dudes that started this whole genetic testing thing. This could be a wide open source idea. But yeah, to be able to sex some of this stuff where these motherfuckers are like, oh, you can't sex it because it's... Dude, trust me, every one of those Greg Maxwell banging ass chondros didn't grow up to be female for a reason.
Right.
I got one badass male. Look at all these awesome females.
But the thing is that I'm past the stage of telling somebody that they should hook up with somebody else because I don't give a fuck. I'll give credit to the guy that actually did it, like Charlie. I mean, Charlie is fucking doing this shit in his garage, and he's doing shit better and faster than fucking RGI. And it's funny because when I interviewed the fucking dick from RGI, and I'm not saying he was a dick, but fucking
no, it was a good interview. But it was a very non-fat man interview.
Yeah. Well, that
I got sciency.
I have to do one of those occasionally, every now and then, just to pretend I'm relevant. Okay, but.
What is that? An incubator behind you? No, it's a cabinet that holds a bunch of shit.
Yeah. So we don't do damn incubators anymore. But fucking RGI, when I asked them if they were gonna have a problem scaling, they were like, "No, we're ready to scale. We are ready to scale." Meanwhile, fucking 4 months later, people are still not getting their fucking shit back. So fucking you send it to Charlie.
Let's be honest, dude. Animal Plastics is still on a fucking 4-month ship wait.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
6-month ship wait. I mean, it's okay, Mark. You can tell everyone you're 6 months behind on your bills. It's okay. You can admit you're still not out of business. You're still on a 6-month stumble. It's okay. You've been stumbling for 18 years, maybe 20 years.
Chris is still like fucking. I call up Chris. He's like, "When do you need it? Tomorrow?"
But Chris ran a bar. Yeah. Chris ran multiple bars at one time. I mean, if you can do that and not kill motherfuckers, then building racks and satisfying snake fucks is pretty simple.
Yeah, well, that's why I still fucking love Chris, man.
I mean, Chris absolutely. Is one of my favorite people.
Like, I don't have any. The only cages I have right now are 4 focus cube cages right here, and I have no racks left in the house. I don't have any. But Danny and Donato still have fucking 30 of them in their fucking house, and they've lasted 12, 15 years already. And they're still rocking out the shit that we were using when we were with Eyeballs. So
for sure. I mean, plastic lasts.
Definitely the guy.
Plastic lasts, and everybody's pretty much using the same materials. And
well, at the end of the day, it's the same materials. But why do you think that some people make it and some people are like it's build quality?
It's business organization. It's business organization. Oh, you're talking about the actual racks that survive?
Yeah.
There's build quality. Like, so in the case of Chris, he's still using American plastic. I'm not. So I'm not quite doing my seaming and stuff like he is. Like, I'm doing my joints a little deeper. My material's more foamy. This is actually a rack behind me on my left shoulder here that I put together. That's for like crested gecko grow up stuff. It holds 6 tubs. It ships flat. You buy the tubs yourself at Container Store. It's super easy, right? But at the end of the day, like guys like Chris that are shipping tubs, man, if you consider the cost of that, the loss in that, the storage in that, the ate up cost, and just the fact that he's got to have tubs for CB70s for like all of these big tubs, he's got to have it in stock to where he can ship you that. That's really difficult. And it takes a lot of a person's business mind to continue to shuffle their profits into the business. Okay. Like to continue, like what I did with Exotics by Nature before, not what I'm doing with Exotics by Nature now. Right. Which is sold a snake for $20,000, paid some bills, bought an $18,000 snake. Sold a snake for $15,000, paid some bills, bought a $16,000 snake. You know what I mean? And that was it. Is that when I watched Chris grow, it was drive to Repticon, sell all my cages, go back to the shop, order a bunch of plastic from Piedmont. Now, one of the things Chris had as a lead in when he first started was he was building it all by hand. None of it was CNC cut.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
None of it was CNC made in his shop. But it was all, and I still have a bunch of racks of his. In fact, one outside this door right here. That is, I'm going to sell soon. It's just a shoebox rack that he built me. That's from his original style before he got the CNC machines, right? Because I've been with Chris, like you, forever, since he was getting it cut. But he was getting Piedmont to cut his plastic for him to spec. And they did have a very accurate saw. They used to do some saw work for me as well. A long time ago, I built out my own facility because I wasn't going to wait on animal plastics. You know, Mark wanted my business. He wanted Exotics by Nature's business when he was getting, you remember the gecko guy in Canada, Urban Gecko, Python, Craig Stewart. He was doing Craig Stewart's business, right? He was doing several big ass companies' business. You know, there's Steve Doss. That's a good point. 75% of my sales go right back into buying plastic. You know, that's pretty much how it works, right? So with Chris, it was like, it was a hustle though. You know, I can remember the baby rack order was like $12,000 or $13,000 for a little over 500 holes of V18 racks with heat delivered, right? And I reached out to Chris and I said, man, I'm in a bind. I'm like everyone else. I order racks the day after I need them.
Right.
What can you do for me? And he's like, well, you know, I got you. I always told you I got you. Can you send me money to buy plastic up front? And I said, yeah. She gave me a price for, it was like 540 holes in V18. And he told me, he said, if you pay me today, I'll deliver it to you because the freight is going to cost as much as the gas for me to go there and back. So I'll load up the trailer in Fort Lauderdale and I'll drive it to you in Louisiana. I'll reel it in your shop. I'll pull out the driveway with a check for the balance and we'll be done. Right. So it was like a Tuesday. I sent him $3,000 for a deposit. He messaged me Thursday with a picture of Piedmont loading his truck with a fucking pallet of pre-cut material, all my material cut for all these holes. Right. So like 2 days later, I had a photograph of my cut materials on a dock getting loaded into Sea Serpent's vehicle. Right. And then the following Friday or Thursday, he told me I'll be there this afternoon.
Right.
Right. He wheeled the racks into my shop, dude. They're poly wrapped. He fucking pulls the poly wrap off of them in my shop. And he's like, gives me a handshake, hug, pat, you know, bro hug thing. Right. He does the whole bro hug thing. Right. Takes the fucking check, gets in the truck and pull. And I'm like, whoa, aren't you going to plug them in? You know, I'm like, fuck, dude, this seems like a full service job. I mean, what are you going to do? Stop before the fucking finale? That's some bullshit right there, man. I never like, that's like Robert Schimmel, the comedian. You know, he's like, I like to tease myself, jerk off. Yeah. No. Right. I like to do that to edge. Right. No, that's not how I edge. So he's like, fuck you. You plug them in yourself, you crippled fuck. And I was like, but all the thermostats are up high. And he was like, that's what Kristen's here for. You know, she was still working for me. And so we plugged them all in. And a week after that, Chris called me and he asked me right then, he said, let me ask you, dude, what do you think of the product that I brought you? And I said, well, it doesn't hold enough snakes. And he said, well, I brought you exactly what you ordered. And I said, I know. And we hatched 580 ball pythons in the last 2 weeks. We don't have enough room. Right. And he was like, you really seriously filled them up already? And in 1 week, we had filled that entire wall wrap. And that wall wrap was 16 feet down and 3 feet across over. So it was like 19 feet of V18 racks.
Right.
2 foot short of an 8-foot ceiling, or 18 inches short of an 8-foot ceiling. So like the fact that he brought that to me, though, I looked at him and I said, you will be a rack power motherfucker forever until something demises you in your organizational skills of this business. You will be in this business. You should buy CNC machines. You should think about that. I'm sure he was already thinking about that. And then he bought his CNCs, and ironically, he bought them from an hour away from me in Baton Rouge, and he did all his training here nearby. And so we got to talking a lot, and ultimately that's the route I went. But, I went to it for the aquarium guys more than anything. So.
Yeah, see, when I met Chris, he delivered to us in fucking Hamburg. And I was like, you're gonna drive all the way up to fucking Hamburg?
Fuck yeah.
And he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I got no problem with that. And I remember we bought like 4 CB70 racks, right? And we didn't have a shop at that point, right? So we deliver them to Danny's house, right? And Danny lives in Lower Manhattan, fucking the Village, right?
Right, a horrible place to try to get a delivery.
Yeah, but Danny had so much, fuck you money at that time that Danny would just park at hydrants and just take the ticket, right? And just take
double park, take the ticket just for the delivery convenience.
Yeah, just take it. Right. So we huffed the things up to his lobby.
New Orleans is not that indifferent from that, bro. Like when you come down here, you see the streets, how narrow they are and old because it's fucking from the 1600s, 1700s.
Well, that's how it is down in the Village, right?
Right.
And fucking
old.
And Danny tells us, he's like, I live on the 4th floor. And in New York, if a building doesn't have 5 floors, it doesn't have to have an elevator, right? So fucking we were in the lobby. So that didn't even count as a floor, right? So we had to hoof it up 4 flights of stairs. And I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I'm going to have a fucking heart attack. I was 80 pounds heavier at the time. I was like, I'm going to die bringing this jerk his fucking racks, right? And surprisingly, I did not die and have a heart attack.
You did not die. You might have lost a leg, but who knows?
Dude, my legs
could have been a long time coming, bro.
My legs were like jello after that. All right.
You could say that to Danny right now. You could be like, I went to a new doctor and they told me the reason I lost this leg was
because I had to carry those fucking racks up the stairs. Yeah.
Hey, little man, pay up. That's right. Hey, Monopoly guy. Hey, Cuban Monopoly guy, pay up.
It was fucking brutal, man.
I love Danny. I missed a lot of you. Most of the time.
Well, the thing is that I talk to Danny maybe once a week now, and he's literally my boss now. Yeah,
Well, right. I know that. I know you and Donato, right?
Me and Donato work for Danny. Yeah. So, the only thing is I don't have to go into the office, every day.
Right.
And
that's only because he doesn't want to see you struggle in the chair.
Well, dude, I refuse to go to the office in the chair. Plus, I couldn't go anywhere in the office because there's only one level that's accessible.
You guys came to the Pussy Podcast on the right channel. If you want to talk to the fucking strong cripples, come to bullshit. I'm gonna play the song again,
dude. It's fucking, dude. It's fucking horrible. I just refuse to go to like a Reptile show in the chair, and I refuse to go.
You should.
The White Plains was just this weekend, and I wouldn't go.
And this is why I suggested to you to have some sort of a real professional chair at some point if you can get insurance to pay for it, because it really does change the wheelchair experience, in my opinion. Because when you're sitting on that web bottom bullshit that folds, dude, your whole back is crunching under that, right? Like your body's being squeezed as you sit downwards, right? There's this swedging force of the wheelchair. It's just not good for your body. It's not good for your skin. It's not good for your ass. At all.
Dude, it's definitely not good for my ass. All right.
Right. It's not good for your ass. Like, dude, okay, I got a new cushion. They brought it to my house yesterday. This cushion, I wish I could take it off and just show you, because it's this thick and it's this long and it's this wide and it's fucking billed at $1,300.
Yeah.
It doesn't move. It doesn't have NASA suction. It doesn't blow me. It doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't tickle my nuts. It doesn't blow air up through there. It does none of that. It's a half air bladder, half foam cushion that costs $1,300 fucking dollars. However, you can sit on this motherfucker all day and not get problems, right? So Steve's got a good idea of having a race, right? So I will tell you this, Steve. I will address you on this. You remember, Ryan in Texas with the Retics, the Hobbit, the stand-up comedian now, the fuck
Oh
is his
yeah,
name?
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Ivory Mon King on fucking Facebook,
yeah.
right? So he got his really horrible retic bite where he was in a wheelchair, like he fucking like lacerated his thigh or some shit, and like he had a horrible injury, and he was in a wheelchair, and it was shortly after he had that big fight with Bob Clark before the Brazzers t-shirt came out that I got, by the way. I don't even know where it is. I think I won that in an auction. I bought the fuck out of that shirt. But we showed up at a show. It was Dallas. It was Arlington, right? And ARBC. Right. And he showed up there in a fucking wheelchair. And he was like, "You want to race?" And I said, "The only way I'm racing you fat fuck in that wheelchair, is if we have a game show called Bowling for Bob, and we tie that motherfucker at the ankles and at the arms, and we stand him up like a pin, and we both run at him full speed, and whoever gets to him first gets to fuck him up the most." Right. And that was in the Bob Clark hate days when the motherfucker ripped both of us off for thousands and thousands of dollars, And I was just like, let's go bowling for Bob. We'll get the blue card involved. It's not abuse. It's not fucking trauma. It's not what? It's self-defense. We'll call it.
Well, I think I would be more apt instead of racing, because I can get this thing going pretty fast, especially on like marble floors.
Oh yeah,
all right. I could definitely
with those hard tires on that fucking piece of shit. Oh, for sure.
But I instead I would do like who can knock each other out of the chair first, because I will fuck you up. I don't care.
Have you seen Murder Ball before? Like,
no.
Murder Ball? No. Wheelchair rugby? No, you haven't seen Murder Ball?
No, I haven't seen wheelchair rugby.
Go Google, and you can screen share it right now if you want to. Murder Ball, and that is the sport of wheelchair rugby in a wheelchair. Now, wait a minute. I'm not qualified to play, and neither are you. You have to be a quad to play. You have to be that fucked up.
Okay.
And they put sticky stuff on your hands, right? And they throw a ball out on a basketball court, and you're in a basketball wheelchair that kind of looks like Mad Max modded it a little bit.
Right,
There's
like the fairings, wheels and everything. Yeah,
the wheels are kicked way out.
Right,
the cast is way crazy. Like you're in a basketball chair. Like you can cut like fast.
Right.
And you're strapped in, and you're a quad, right? So your paddle hands, you're like Penguin Man, right? And they got sticky shit on your hands, and they throw a ball out there, and it's get the ball from the guy with the ball. They fucking not. But the thing is, these quads are so strong and so good at doing what they do. These guys can do ground transfers, bro. I can't get up off the ground. I've never gotten up off the ground. Right. I may have done it one time with a therapist once right after I was hurt, and I weighed 140 pounds. Right. There's no way I can ground transfer, bro. I know quads that can only move, that their hands are like this, and all they can move is this part of their thumbs. Right. But they can do a ground transfer in a wheelchair with no brakes on. They can get up off the floor with their ass in the air. Like they can leverage themselves, pop their ass up and flip their weight, get themselves right back in a wheelchair from the floor.
Right.
With a neck injury. These guys are the most capable motherfuckers. I am a lightweight. You are a beyond featherweight.
Dude,
to these people.
No, right? Dude. I floor transferred once because I had to, because I fell. Right.
Yeah, but you got a working leg, right? Like the other leg.
Well, yeah, but fucking.
But you don't have the leverage.
I don't have the leverage. So what I did was I fell, and my parents were actually here with me at the time, and I'm like, the only thing I need you here for is to make sure I don't fall, right? So they went to the store, right?
And you fell.
And I fell, right? And I fell like a dick. I felt like a retard, right? But then what I did was I scooted my ass to the windowsill, and I fucking, through sheer upper body strength, okay, I fucking heaved myself up on the one leg and then got back in the chair. And I was just like, I was screaming like a lunatic. Like I'm just like, yes. I'm like, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, like fucking like a maniac, like a mental patient.
I get it.
Right?
I get it.
And then I looked down at my leg, and the fucking wound got torn all open. It's fucking gushing blood.
Blood everywhere. Oh God, everywhere. Dude, that's scary.
And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, right? So I had to go to the hospital, pay fucking $500 for them to put fucking basically a bandage on it. Right. And then fucking, just come home and have to wait it out. But yeah, I definitely got up. But I don't see how they could pick up a ball, because I can't plug in a fucking outlet Okay.
Okay.
Like it
So
takes a
here's the
lot.
thing, though, dude. You didn't go through, like, they prep you to have a leg again. Like you
Right.
said, I don't want to learn a wheelchair life. Well, you know what? At some point, you might need to. But at that point, you need to have some serious fucking guidance from some physical therapist, an occupational therapist. So, like, that's where your OC therapy comes in. Like, your physical therapist is going to get you transfer and exercising and doing shit like that. But your
Right.
OC therapist is going to get you picking shit up off the floor, writing shit, catching balls, throwing balls, doing shit like that. And then you have a third therapist in inpatient rehab called a rec therapist. And that's the one that takes you out on field trips and rolls you out in the real world. And so you, at least in my system, that's what it was. There's three therapists, right? Recreational, occupational, physical.
Yeah.
And they beat you up every day, all day, every day, 5 days a week. You usually get the weekends off, or you got to do rec therapy on the weekends and shit. And my rec therapist, bro, the only person I could liken her to in the celebrity world would be Wanda fucking Sykes. I had this crazy black lady in New Orleans, and she was like this: Sean, we're going on a field trip. Where are we going? I ain't telling you. I ain't telling this hospital. We go on a surprise run. That's the only way I can get you crippled fuckers to come with me. And sometimes we have alcohol. Don't tell them. And because you're inpatient, right? You're stuck upstairs for 30 days in rehab. And in most of these guys, I'm not a drinker, right? So I don't really give a fuck. But most of these guys are like party animals. Half of them got injured drunk.
Right.
They can't wait to have another drink, So they can't wait to numb the pain with that and opiates, right? Like, fuck yeah, I'll get a drink. I take the fucking good shit. Yeah. Right. So she rolls us to the French Quarter of New Orleans with the worst fucking concrete and the oldest streets and the shittiest fucking habitation for handicapped motherfuckers that you could imagine in an ADA country like America.
Right.
I couldn't imagine a worse city. Most of the buildings have stoops to get in because of flooding streets. They don't have walkways. They have to come out and bro, if I want to go in a bar on Bourbon Street, they got to bring out this crazy metal tray that they lay between the sidewalk and the stoop that folds out. And then they always push me up the ramp, right? And then they fold it up and put it away. When you're ready to leave, let me know. What happens if the place catches on fire? The motherfuckers are running like crazy. You know what I mean? I'll be the last one out. Y'all just douse me in water and call me fireman. I'll be there going, wee, so y'all know where all the flames are at, But I mean, that's really how it is in New Orleans. She rolls us in the fucking French Quarter in the flea market, drops us off at the road and says, I'm going to park this van. I'll see y'all in a bit. If y'all fall, don't worry. These good people will pick you up. That's literally how we started the first field trip. And we roll into Margaritaville and have like a hell of a meal, a bunch of freshly handicapped fucks. And we had a good time.
Right.
But she was great. And that was the recreational therapist. But you know what we did? Inpatient recreational therapy, dude. A bunch of quads and paras. You know what they made us play?
What?
Wii. Nintendo Wii. And what game did they make us play? Wii tennis.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever seen a bunch of guys in a row so tight and you wonder why they're so close together? And the therapist tells you because in case one of them falls over, he'll just bump into the other one and he'll stay up.
And they'll be fine. Yeah.
So you got 3 guys butted up together, wheelchair wheel to wheelchair wheel, all playing Wii tennis with their same right arm, even if they're not right-handed, so they don't hit the other guy. Right. All of them kind of bumping and leaning on each other because none of us have balance. None of us have ab balance. It's actually quite comical. But we had to cook for ourselves. We had to clean our own clothes. We had to get dressed for ourselves. Dude, I was giving part of my weed edibles to one of the nurse assistants every now and then. And she told me she would do anything for me for the weed edibles, like not in a sexual way, obviously, but like helping me. And I told her she could just help me get dressed every day. And my occupational therapist caught us. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And so from then on, during dress time, no one was allowed in my room. No nursing assistants were allowed in my room because of the chick that was doing all the dressing for me. Dude, it was that is how it is. And then when you need to leave rehab, they wheel your wheelchair in, they put you in your wheelchair next to your bed and they say, get in your bed. And they shut the door. And they're like, if you call us on the call light and you're on the floor, you don't graduate today. You got to stay here another week.
Right.
Or if you can't get yourself into the car downstairs, because there's a car rammed into the wall in the physical rehab room.
Oh yeah, I've used that. Yeah.
Transferring into the car, right? Mm-hmm. If you can't get in out of the car, you can't leave. Right. Because your relatives got to come pick you up and they got to get you out where they're going, because where you are in rehab right after your injury is made for you. There's a call light. There's a roll under sink, right? There's people all around you willing to help you all the time. If you ever have any problem at all, they're there. And when you go home, nope.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Like you fell that day till your parents come back. Nope.
Yeah.
Now
I remember being in rehab where they're like, all right, you have rehab this time during the week, right? And so the first time I was supposed to go there, I was just waiting. I was like waiting in the chair, right? And I'm like, I called in a nurse and I was like, all right, it's 9:30 or 9:35. I should be in rehab at 9:30. And the nurse was just like, go. And I was like, well, where is it? And she goes, you'll find it. And I'm like, is it on this floor? And she goes, no. And that's all she gave me. Right. And I was like, so now I got to fucking go. You know how to rehab.
It's almost like they have fun with it.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you fucking retard, figure it out,
Right.
And you know how the elevators are in rehab. Like there's a guy manning every elevator, and they got to take you in and all that.
Where my place is, no. They had a rooftop deck at my hospital on like the 6th floor or the 7th floor. And then the floor beneath it was the brain trauma floor, the TBI floor, the traumatic brain injury floor. Okay. And they had to wear yellow t-shirts, right? Like all the TBI patients had to wear yellow shirts because they get out. They escape the hospital. Like they get out. Like me and my nurse are doing rounds around the hospital, and my nurse panics and takes out her phone, and I don't realize what she's doing, and I don't see the guy, but there's a yellow shirt guy hiding in the bushes. And so she calls one of the people at the hospital. She's like, hey, I'm on this side of the street on Poydras at Toro, and I'm outside with a patient right now. And the patient you guys are looking for is outside in the bushes, right? Wearing a yellow shirt. Right. So I get up and I'm like, okay, I got a chance to go to the rooftop deck and try this smoking weed at the hospital thing. Right. So I'm going out to the very edge where the nurses go smoke their weed. Right. And I'm going out there to the very corner because I could tell they're not just talking to their boyfriends out there. They're smoking good stuff out there. And I go out there in the corner, but wait, I get off on the wrong floor. And I get off on the brain floor. And I pull out of the elevator and I'm looking and I don't see the ramp to the thing. Then I realize, oh shit, I'm on the wrong floor. I'm not wearing a yellow shirt. Right. Doctor comes out to get on the elevator. Elevator's closed. I'm sitting there in a wheelchair looking kind of bewildered a little. I guess I was a little doe at the moment.
He just thinks
little deer in headlights.
You're new when you didn't get your shirt
and
yet.
He looked at me and I said, I am not wearing a yellow shirt. That's exactly what I said. I pointed to him and I was like, sir, his shirt is not yellow. I was like, I got off on the wrong floor. I'm getting back on the elevator with you and I'm going to the deck. And he's like, oh, that's where I was headed. And I didn't ask him if he was going to smoke it. I didn't ask him if he wanted to smoke with me because he was actually a doctor and I think he needed to be on point. But, it was kind of funny though. He did look at me like did he switch shirts?
Right.
Like, did his family bring him a shirt?
Did this motherfucker get a black shirt?
Right. Or whatever shirt of color I was wearing that day. It wasn't fucking yellow, thank God. Thank God I wasn't wearing it. I don't ever wear a yellow shirt. I don't own a yellow shirt.
No,
I won't own a yellow shirt after the 6th floor, 7th
floor.
But
fucking, I'm a fat dude. Of course I don't own a yellow shirt, so fucking that wouldn't matter. Like fucking
right. Right, because the sun has tits too, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? The sun has tits,
right?
You're like, bro, you look like Sunny D with tits.
Right.
You look like a bottle of Sunny D with tits.
And speaking of that, like I just started using weed, right? Like recently,
okay.
Like when I met Chris,
welcome to the jungle,
and I'm not good at smoking weed.
That's
okay.
Good.
I am good at taking edibles and passing out. Right, like taking gummies and passing out.
They do help you sleep very well.
They do, and that's fucking work. But when I smoke weed, I just talk and talk, and it was.
Why do you think I ramble so much?
Christian just yelled at me. She's like, "Dude, shut the fuck up!" Like fucking, like what are you talking about?
Hey, Christian, my ex Rachel used to call it show Sean. Like turn Expo Sean off. Turn show Sean off.
Right.
When you get home on Sunday and you unload the truck, leave his ass downstairs.
Right.
With the shit. Right. And it's something that like when I get to that's another thing I want to tell you that have you noticed at all, does talking keep your mind off of pain?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Because Andy that does the herp shows, you don't know Andy Hine, but you
Oh,
probably
Andy
know
Hine,
Andy
I
Hine,
know him
right?
very well. He
So
invited me on his
Heine,
boat. Yeah.
right. Okay. So Heine's got bad problems with his back, right? Like, I don't envy him at all. I told him, I'm like, bro, you might want to think about breaking your fucking neck.
Right.
Like, and living like quad, because then you don't have that much pain like that. Your whole body hurts and you'll get used to it. But he like literally is doing his pain things. He's got the shocky things on his back, and he's had a reptile show working, bro. I don't even know why he's there. I mean, honestly, Andy, if you listen to this, bro, I am concerned about your health, while you're there. But he's pacing the show, walking, not talking to anybody, keeping his eyes kind of, he's kind of just in the zone, walking. And I look, and people are like, what the fuck's up with Andy? And I'm like, that's pain right there. That is how he's managing his pain right now, because it's the only thing he can keep his mind off of it is just walking around and dodging people and talking and having people run into him and distracting himself and just being in the zone, right? And when you hear me at a show and you're like, God, I wish he would shut up. I wish he would stop talking. Understand, if you are watching this, and I have talked your ear off at a show before, a lot of it is me dealing with my pain. And my pain right now is raging. Like, if I had a 1 to 10 scale right now, I'd probably be at around a 9, maybe an 8.5. Sitting here talking to you guys, laughing, not sweating, not crying. Right. Honestly, only emotional pain makes me cry.
Right. Yeah, no,
you could not give me any physical pain and yank a fucking tear out of me.
Right. Right.
None. And in that case, emotional pain is really just wrapped around the focus on my daughter and her health and well-being.
Right. Right. No, I totally get
at that
it.
point. And so as long as she's good, I'm kind of thankful, and kind of like, I'm not gonna, like, you're like, bro, you're going to jump off the bridge. I'm like, no, I'm not going to jump off the bridge. As long as Bo's good, as long as she's alive.
I know that you're not going to jump off anything. All right. Fucking, if anything, you'll find a broken guardrail and you'll just wheel yourself off. But fucking
not even. I mean, only maybe if there was an enemy of mine, I could splat on the ground as I go down. Like, I'm really not that guy. I'm not that guy at all. Like, I think I would rather be productive as a biological being, not productive in the way of having children, but productive work ethic, telling people you can do better, even if it's just talking to some random person on a chat app that has depression and wants to kill themselves. And I'm like, hey, my son died, and then I broke my back 6 months later, and my ex left me a year after that, and my business went down the hill. And and they're like, whoa, my life is not so bad now. Right. And then all of a sudden it's perspective. Right. And so I want to bring you back to that whole thing of, I could have been Superman. Right. When you go to rehab and you're in inpatient and outpatient rehab, you're around a lot of fucked up people that are all fucked up in different ways. Now, where I lived on the 9th floor of Toro for a month, it was only spinal cord injuries, right? Just like the brain had their floor. You probably would have just been in an outpatient floor, then go to therapy, right? But I was on a floor with our own therapy room, Chris. We didn't have to go downstairs. We had to go downstairs to get in the car because they didn't have a car on the 9th floor,
Right.
But the gym that we used daily was upstairs on our floor. It wasn't something ways away. And we lived on that floor, and there was a laundry room in the hallway that we had to wash all our own clothes. We were only allowed to bring, I think, 3 changes of clothes in the closet by our family, so that we would have to wash them all the time and do our own stuff, I admired that a lot, but what I'm saying, what I want to make a point of, is that we're in the room, and I'm in the room with a woman who had 15 maxillary facialary surgeries, right? She flew off drunk off a motorcycle, right? And destroyed her face. Now, she looked like a person again, right? But it was after 15 surgeries. And she had photos of her face. Her face was all metal mesh underneath and shit. She was like fucking RoboCop underneath. The pain in her facial muscles was really crazy. Ironically, she took the same bipolar medication as me because it treats facial neuropathy.
Right.
Right? She's not bipolar. And she's not, it's for epilepsy. She's not epileptic. She's not bipolar, but the medication happens to treat
face
pain.
Thing. Yeah.
face pain, because face pain is different than all your other pain.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I learned that from her. And I'm like, wow. So you have this whole other thing to your. She's a paraplegic, bro. I mean, she flew off a fucking motorcycle. You know, I mean, she's not okay. But the face, that was just the face reconstruction, right? It was 15 surgeries, not her spinal surgeries and all her other shit, right? And so I'm like, wow, okay, you got to struggle. And then I'm talking to this kid, and I'm like, kid, your swelling's gonna go down. I got faith in your abilities, bro. This kid was 15 years old. He was on an inner tube being pulled by a boat in Madisonville, Louisiana, on a very dangerous sporting river that we have. Imagine a sporting river, skiing river, that's bordered by cypress trees. You know what cypress trees put up, right?
Yeah.
Knees. And when the water level goes up and down in the river, you can't always see where the knees are until you're right on them. And the tube with him and his 7-year-old, 8-year-old brother being pulled by his father's boat is flying full speed towards a stack of knees that his dad can't see. He throws his brother off of the tube as the tube hits the knees. And the 15-year-old football player, bro, this dude was like 200 plus pounds. It was not small. Went flying into a nest of cypress knees in this river and had fractured his neck in multiple places and was sitting there a quadriplegic at 15. I'm pretty sure a 15-year-old virgin, bro. Like honestly, I can look at this kid and be like, wow, I was 32. I slayed lots of girls, right? Was with plenty of girls, had plenty of experience as a man, built buildings, did stuff, right? And here's this kid who never going to have that opportunity. I don't have it that bad, bro. I don't have it that bad. Bad for me was 6 months ago when my son died, you guys. This is not bad for me, right? And that was what I kept telling myself in rehab. And I kept telling my doctors, and I kept telling my therapists, like, listen, guys, my son passed away 6 months ago. This is nothing. Don't worry about me. Worry about that guy. Worry about him. I'm going to do my shit. I'm not coming back to physical therapy, because physical therapy for me is working my business. Driving a car. Dude, I got out of the hospital in September of 2012, and I was driving a car in May of 2013. I met a guy in a hotel in Lake Charles at the last Herp show. Young guy, young black dude, maybe 20, 21, took a gunshot, was carjacked, actually. He moved away from Lake Charles to Dallas, got a great job in Dallas, made a bunch of money, bought a nice truck, came back to visit his mom. Truck got jacked by some jealous person he knew in his hometown, and they shot him in the back. They shot him in the chest, and it hit his back, which is a lot of spinal cord injuries, like my level. Our gunshot wounds, a lot. Our police officers, inner city people, drive-by shootings, things like that, parade shootings, crowd shootings. You run into a lot of fucking neck injuries from motorcycles and dirt bikes and jumping off ramps and diving in swimming pools, right? Like, these injuries seem to have like a kick to them, you know? Car accidents are usually lower lumbar injuries in your waist and be car accidents because your seatbelt was there and your body got thrown around and it broke your back, you know, or something, right? So you get to know all these things, but you're sitting in rehab with them and you're sizing it up. Like, dude, that lady over there started walking. Fuck, I want to walk. But the kid started moving. Before I got discharged, the 15-year-old kid started wiggling his toes. So he got another month. Right? Because that's how insurance does it when you're in rehab and you're fucked up like us. They give you a month. And if you don't improve in that month, you're out. But if you have an improvement and your body responds, you just get another month. And I'm like, what? How long does this go? Oh, well, some people get to stay for 4 or 5 months. Well, what happens then? Well, shit, some of them can't feel their legs, but they're literally walk out. That's good rehab. You know, you don't have that a lot. You got one in Colorado. There's a big one in Atlanta called Shepherd Center. Atlanta is huge. That's a fucking epic one. You know, Shepherd Center is cool because the hospital and they have a hotel that's alongside it. So your family can come stay in the hotel and you can discharge to stay with your family while you're in rehab. So your family can learn to manage you with medical staff in like a proper environment. With bars and showers and toilets. And dude, it's really empowering. So the people that get to go to the Shepherd Center, most of them have a pretty leg up. And I believe this kid went to the Shepherd Center because I asked him, how long ago was your injury? He said, bro, I got hurt like 5 months ago. And I was like, and you're already driving again? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, fucking right.
Yeah. Well, that's
Nothing's
the whole
right.
thing, right? It's like as soon as it happened to me, and I was in rehab, and I saw all these other people, I was just like, man, like I think I want to help that guy.
I
I
remember
want to,
you. I
yeah,
remember you saying, man, I want to do a podcast with vets, and I want to do
yeah.
this, and I want to do that. And I mean, you feel it, right?
Well, because the first rehab I was in, when I got my initial, I had like fucking 60 stents in the leg that got chopped off, right? So I had to go to rehab after I got the stent operation. And I was in the rehab, and it was I could see the rehab from my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that pissed me off, right? Like I could fucking go to the window and see my building, right? And the first time they took a shower there, I rolled into the shower, and I was just like, no way. There's no way I'm fucking doing this. So we got the rehab people to allow my father to come in and take me home and
Mm-hmm.
shower like at my house, that was a shitty rehab. I was the day they dropped me off there, I was in the room for 4 hours before they knew I was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I was just like, this, somebody should be here, right? Shouldn't somebody be here to like check me in or something like that? But when I got the leg chopped off, I went to a really well-known rehab place upstate a little bit. And they were the ones that like, they were attentive as fuck. They made you do everything, yourself. And you learn a lot, and you want to, you want to help people more when you fucking see that, oh shit, there's a ton of people out there
Right.
without a leg, right? And it's just a leg, right? Like you still got your fucking head, it's just a fucking leg. I've been kicked out of so many fucking amp groups because I'm just like, you guys are a bunch of whiny pussies. And there was a black lady from Louisiana who was like 75 years old. And I was like, you guys are a bunch of pussies. And she was like, you know what? Chris is right. You guys are a bunch of pussies. I lost both my legs and I drove to the store today.
Right.
All right. So fucking fuck you guys.
Right.
So,
I mean, look, dude, you got a guy with no legs fucking riding a skateboard doing flips and shit.
Right.
I don't give a fuck what you have to say about anything. Look, at the end of the day, we have to look at the raw thing of loss, right? You understand me a little better.
Yeah.
Greg Graziani understands me a little better, right?
Yeah.
So for anybody listening to this doesn't know, Greg Graziani is a mutual friend of ours and a giant in the reptile industry who, last December lost his arm, or 2 Decembers ago, I guess. Now lost his arm December 22, lost his arm to an alligator bite at a show he was doing in Florida at an alligator park. But the thing about it is the conversation Greg and I had 3 months after his removal, we'll call it, right? And he called me up and he's just like, we finally got to talk. And I was like, how are you? And he's like, I want to ask you questions. And he's like, all right, what do you want to ask me? He's like, have I gotten better or have I gotten used to the pain?
Mm.
And I said, you've gotten used to the pain.
Right. That's all it is. Yeah.
And he's like, because look, this was a 10. This was a 20 on a 1 to 10 scale when I went to the hospital with no hand, when I brought them my hand in my other hand, right? And now it's a 2. And I'm like, okay, keep going. And he's like, but listen, when somebody touches or scratches or scrapes the area around the edge of the nub, right? I'm sure you experienced something very painful as well. This is where your prosthetic is causing you pain, right?
Right.
That's sensitive nerves around the edge where your nerves stop. Where your brain says, this should keep going, bro.
Right.
And it don't. So right there, your brain is telling you this area right here needs your focus, bro. That's what your brain's doing. Mm-hmm. It's not real pain. It's really not, because your skin's healed. Nothing's cutting you.
Yeah. You can't take anything for
scratching you, but you can't. But it's painful as fuck. You scratch it. Like my area of sensation now, I kind of ignore it because my threshold of pain is so high. But shortly after I was injured, bro, if you scratched me, or like when they came down with the nail test, because that's something they have to do. right? Like they poke your feet, they poke your toe,
right, yeah,
with the pokey thing, right? It's like a scalpel type thing. It's pretty sharp, right? So you can get a good response from it through calluses and stuff. Like it's pretty sharp. And they drag it down my chest, like drag it down my skin. I can feel. And dude, right before it gets to the numb spot, it hurts so fucking much. I'm like, if you do that again, I'm gonna stab you in your fucking eye with that pen.
right, yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, I know where my area of sensation is. I can draw it for you in a line if you need to see it. And they're like, we need to see if it's changing. And I'm like, I understand what you're doing, but do it lighter, like that. Don't leave a red line. Like I'm in a
Well,
hole.
the thing that we get is the phantom pain, and you can't take
Right.
anything for that because, like, fucking my like ankle and foot that's not there is
there.
killing me all the time.
It's
right?
totally
Like,
there
fucking,
too. Like you can wiggle that toe right now. If you
right,
imagine in your mind wiggling that left toe right now, you can imagine wiggling
well,
right now.
and that's the thing
You
with
can feel
wearing the prosthetic, like fucking, the
it helps
the
your mental.
PT girl would be like, use your toe, step off your toe. I'm like, I don't know if you notice or not, but there is no toe there. And she goes, just tell your head to use your toe. And you do that, and the prosthetic responds in whatever,
your brain
whatever
remembers how you moved your leg for 49 years.
Right.
I mean, that's just it. I moved my body for 32 years. I can feel my toes wiggle right now.
Right.
I feel my toes wiggle. Like I'm like, I'm wiggling my toes right now. They're wiggling away, bro. Like them bitches are dead. Like fucking Mr. Deeds pizza dead. Black fucking leg. You know what I mean? Whip me with a fucking tire iron. That was actually a costume for Halloween once. It was a Deeds pizza shirt with a black foot.
Right.
I stained my foot black and carried a poker around a wheelchair and wore a Deeds pizza shirt. Like fucking, that's it. It's just like straight up. You want to whack it with the poker, whack away at it. Fucking only thing's gonna happen is blood and nasty shit's gonna fly out. My leg's gonna spasm a little bit, but I'm gonna laugh along with you. Perfectly fine.
Well, that's the thing now is that fucking like the bone. Like when you touch the nub and you feel the bone. I remember asking the doctor, I'm like, this part is really hard. Is this going to soften up? Is this going to go away? And he's like, dude, that's your bone. Right. And I was like, shit. Okay. I didn't know that. Right. So fucking, and what I thought they did was I thought because I had phantom pain in the hospital after the leg got cut off. It was the worst pain that I'm
doing pressure relief properly for my
dude.
injury,
I did the same thing, dude.
You got to do it. I mean, but I got to stay up for a while because I am sitting on an injury. I'm supposed to be in bed. So, but I'm not. But it's fine.
Well, I actually had that conversation today too. But the pain was like I was sweating like fucking and like I always said to myself, I'll never be that guy in the hospital bed that's screaming that you hear from down the hall. But I was totally that guy, right?
Were you really?
Screaming. And my aunt is with me, right? And my Aunt Lorraine, and she's trying to hold my hand, and I'm sweating so much that I'm just pulling it out, right? And then the fucking the food guy comes in and sees me writhing in pain, and he's like, Mr. Eden, I just would like to know what you want for breakfast tomorrow morning. And my aunt, like a little Joe Pesci, is like, are you fucking serious? And she goes, why don't you get the fuck out of here? She goes, before I fucking kill you. All right. Can't you see that this fucking guy isn't fucking and it's funny now looking back at it. But at the time it was like it was the worst pain that I've ever had in my fucking life. And it still is actually.
So yeah, let me go back to Greg too. And so he says the pain around the edge. And I was like, yeah, that's your nerve ending right there. And I was like, so tell me though, like you have this experience, like it feels like tingles, like pins and needles, right? Like it feels like your legs asleep, your hands asleep, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, but you can still kind of move your fingers despite the pins and needles in that hand, even though your hand's not there.
Right.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Greg gets this clarity. And he's like, so what you're telling me is what I'm feeling from here to here is what you're feeling from your chest to your toes? And I said, yep. And he said, I excuse you for all of your outbursts and anger in the past. I cannot believe you didn't drive a car through a reptile expo to your enemy.
Yeah.
I cannot believe you didn't take a gun into a crowd. I could not believe your restraint because of the anger in me that this can trigger, that I don't allow it to trigger. Because, I mean, this is ex-cop, husband, father of grown children, right? He's got some fortitude in his attitude, right? We can both say Greg Graziani is a more collected individual than Sean Bradley. That's fucking hands down. That's different. That's the difference between a fucking Lego castle and a whole bunch of Legos on the floor in a toddler's room. That's the difference in those two things. I mean, it's polar opposites in people, organization, me and him. For him to say that was the most redeeming thing, if I can describe it to you. It almost felt like somebody gave me a gold medal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it almost felt like somebody collared me with a fucking gold medal. Like, my eyes are going to tear up thinking about it. Because all of a sudden, I was like, okay, Greg understands me. Now, Chris and Greg understand me. Right? A little bit more. Maybe not fully, but a little bit more. And I was like, and then I want to bring into consideration, you guys, everybody out there, yes, I can't walk. I don't care about not walking. But while I talk about all this shit with this man that I've known for many, many years, well over a decade and a half or more, I can tell you right now, the gravity of being hit with the fact that I would never have an orgasm that I'd experience again. I would never be able to take a healthy defecation, a shit again. I would never be able to urinate on my own again. Was such a different mountain to summit.
Right.
That I will tell you, the one thing you probably would love to do is have your leg back and walk. I don't give two fucks about walking. I don't care. It's at the end of the list of wishes, things I could get back.
Right.
It has nothing. And I'm not the only one. If you surveyed SCI people, SCI, spinal cord injury patients, people. I don't like calling them patients, people. SCI people. And you ask them to list in order what they would like to have back. They would say sex, poop, pee, walk.
Right.
Walking at the dead ass end. Because in a way, though, like I had an injury in 2016 and I had to get a colostomy for that. So now I have a bag on my stomach. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. If you're listening to this and you're a spinal cord patient and you're doing a bowel program, let me tell you guys, if I can walk you through this, the shit that you won't normally hear on this Crybaby Cripple podcast.
Right.
I love you too, by the way. I hope I'm not digging in you too much, bro.
No.
Am I? No. I mean, you got thick skin, right? But it's still some thin because we're bros from back in the day, and I could say some things that could hurt people's feelings. I know. And I don't want to be that way with you or make anybody think that I'm discounting your injury in any way, because you do have a different set of things that I do.
Right. Well, that's one of the first things I thought of is that, that leg is gone, but at least I ain't Sean Bradley. Right. Right. So,
wait.
No, fuck that. Fucking
yeah.
I'm like, I can't even imagine the bag and fucking the
no wait. The bag is amazing. The urine bag is amazing if I didn't get UTIs every 3 weeks and have to take drugs, because that's just part of it, because you can't flush properly. And when you dehydrate, believe it or not, most people don't know this, liquid goes in through the out port.
Right.
Okay. So when you dehydrate yourself, you're sucking bacteria in your gut that has no white cells.
Right.
Like into your bladder, in your renal system, your urine system, it has no white cell protection. Like it has white cells when it gets to your kidneys, but not in your bladder. Like your bladder is not going to have white cells in it attacking a UTI. So when you get a UTI and your pee burns, I don't have pee that burns.
Right.
So when typically a UTI hits a spinal cord patient, a lot of stupid motherfuckers wait until they have a fever to go to the hospital to get treated for it. Now, at that point, the bacteria that was in your urine is now in your bloodstream.
Right.
So at that point, you've waited way too long. So like what I use, I actually have to catheter every day. I would normally have to catheter myself every 2 hours, but I don't. I wear a condom catheter, which for you guys that like the long haul drive to Reptile shows, go on Amazon and look up barred wideband condom catheter. Okay. Buy yourself a set of those in the right size of your dick, and buy yourself a set of leg bags. And if you don't want to stop to pee because you got gas, just roll, because the motorcycle guys are doing it and the video game guys are doing it. So you might as well do it too.
Dude, the catheter was the worst experience for
Okay,
me.
so you can feel it. I can't feel it.
Oh,
right.
dude.
So shoving a hose all the way up there every day don't matter to me. Right? Doesn't matter. But you had a Foley, so they shoved it up there and blew it up at the end.
And then it blew it up inside.
It blew it up with saline at the end, so it wedged itself in there. Yeah.
Dude, I remember the first operation. I had the catheter, pressure. And I when I looked down, I thought that the tube that you could feel was the size of the tube that went in your fucking dick hole, right? Oh, and I was like, I don't even want to look, right? So I immediately called up my doctor. And I was like, listen, you operated on my leg, not my dick. You didn't even go near my dick, yet I have a catheter in. Why do I have a catheter in? This thing is fucking killing me. And he goes, well, we do it with everybody over 40, you know, and we put the catheter in. And he was like, this was the first operation. So he was like, listen, Chris, just so you know, we may have to take the leg off if this operation doesn't work. And I was like, dude, you are not cutting my leg off. You are fucking not cutting my leg off. There's no way you're cutting my leg off. And he goes, and we put another catheter in you. And I'm like, take the leg. Just fucking take the leg and fucking.
Oh, man.
Fucking leave me at it, you know.
You gave up your leg to avoid a rubber hose up the dick. Okay. Dude, I mean, I get it.
It's so at some point. So and the pull out. I was like a 40-year-old virgin when they were ripping the tape off his chest. And I was like, fucking, the nurse came in and pulled it out. And I was like, oh, you cunt, you know, like fucking, and just screaming fucking obscenities. And then like, if you don't pee within like 4 or 5 hours, you have to let me know, because we have to put it back in. Right. And I'm like trying to force a pee, you know, the whole fucking time. And it's like, fuck, I'm getting like a little drip of pee out. And I call the nurse and I'm like, I peed, you know, like I'm trying to tilt the fucking thing. I'm like, see, it's there. You know, and she's like, "No, dude, you got to actually pee."
Yeah, so, the struggle in the hospitals is thick, bro.
My dick has been through a lot. You know, I probably had a catheter in it.
Feel it. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, so much of a mountain that I had to climb, you know, and then I wasn't a quad, right? And so it's like, fuck, man. Like, if you consider my injury, all right, guys, like, I'm in this room. There's a wall right here I'm pointing at, and I fell 3 feet on the other side of this wall. Okay, like, I'm right next to it. I got a window actually in my podcast room now that looks out to the spot where I landed. And I fell from 12 feet up, and I was not drunk or intoxicated. It was on 4th of July, but if you know me, you know I'm pretty straight-laced. You've never seen me drunk. Never. Right. And if you could say that at a Reptile show about a guy that's been in the scene for 30 years, you've never seen me drunk at a Reptile show?
Right.
Never. That means I don't get fucked up. So I fell because I was a dummy and procrastinator my whole life, like I still am. And I didn't finish the railing on the deck. It was literally a 12-foot platform on one side. And I went and did a dumb thing. I called my grandmother on her birthday, and I went to lean against the pole. Why would I do that? Lean against the pole with no railing connected to it. And I rolled off the pole. Like, I hit the edge. Like, I was paying attention to the phone, and I went to lean sideways, and I literally just leaned right off the fucking deck.
Were you high at the time?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say high, no. I would say, I would say there is definitely THC in my system for sure. But anybody that smokes weed a lot, you really aren't doing bat brain shit. I mean, intelligent people that I know that smoke weed aren't doing bat brain shit when they're high. I mean, I know guys that are like refrigeration technicians doing fucking pretty complex stuff, and they're stoned as fuck all day. You know, like, I don't really, you know, I'm going to say that there's not a challenge. And I'm not saying that SpaceX doesn't have a fucking smoke room whenever you get non-creative for the month. You know, hey, you're not putting your weight around your creative guy. Go in that green room over there. Go in the fucking green room at SpaceX. You know, what is that? That's where Snoop invented this room, where its creativity was born. This is how we build rockets that land themselves. We go in here, we bake for a while, we come out with good ideas. You know? I mean, I'm not kidding, bro. Like, there's got to be some outlandish thinking at MIT in bits and atoms. Like, there's not they're all got THC in their system at this point, or at least a good thing to do. You know,
well,
but
go ahead. I want to lean into something here.
Well, it's fine. We'll lean into something. No pun intended. That's really funny. So I leaned my way right off the deck. Let's lean into that for a minute. That little fucking fun pun for a minute. And yeah, so I leaned right off the deck, but I landed on my shoulders, the back part of my shoulders here, upside down. So when I landed, my body folded and my head basically was lined up for the perfect 69 blowjob. I mean, like, I think I face planted. If you do the geometry, I face planted into my groin. Like, my body folded at the chest to where my face actually touched my groin. And when it did that, it rolled T7 and 9 against 8. When it rolled like this, it like made like a gear vise, like kind of like a part crusher for a car crusher or something. It made like a vise like that, and it basically just crushed 8 and tore the spinal cord out. But I now have scoliosis extremely bad. All my discs are broken down below my chest. My bone, like my right side rib cage, actually sits inside of my pelvic bone. I had to learn how to sit crooked because my rib cage used to sit on top of my pelvis and grind like back and forth over it.
Right.
That was extreme pain. You know, like a lot of that shit was really hard. Like, it was really hard to go through, like learning about my body and like letting my back break down to the point now to where I can actually feel my spine and it feels like a snake that's just coiled up in a cage. Like, it's not even remotely straight, and it's not just S this way. It's actually S in a coil. So if you can imagine your discs, these round donuts, my discs have broken down on odd corners. So my spine actually has a corkscrew to it now.
Right.
So well, I'm not even that fat. I have dad bod, but I'm not even that fat, bro. Like, when I lift myself up, all my body stretches out and all my organs replace. And it's like, all he is a bag of organs. Like,
now yeah, but for 1 second, even half a second, when it happened, did you actually think like, oh, I could suck my own dick now?
No, but I did try it and it did work, but I can't feel it. So it's fun. It's fucked. I mean, I was in a hospital bed that was movable, and I was like, let me see if this works. Well, I had to do this injury thing where I had to flip my leg up over my head. And yes, I actually could fit the head in, but I did have a fairly sizable penis before, so it wasn't small. But I mean, it's not, but that's it though. Like, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Look, this is straight up from one of my favorite TV shows called Billions. One of the best fucking shows on Showtime. It was a great fucking show. Watch Billions. It was wonderful. But there's a dorky dude that programs this algorithm to trade, and it's a badass fucking program. And he's a dorky little twerpy little dude, and he's always talking shit to the girls like, I'm the fucking man, right? So he gets fired from the job, and he goes off and opens his own company called BDE, Big Dick Energy. All right? Because he's got big dick energy. And you know what's funny is I do have big dick energy. I do. And I realized that later on. You know, my ex told me that too. She's like, you know, your balls are abnormally large too. And I was like, you know what? I think it actually blends to the attitude of being the Scorpio that doesn't give a fuck at this point, of really just being like, let me honestly tell you what I think. Not of you. Like, I don't want to cut people down anymore, bro. I'm too good at that. I don't want to do that. But I want to change their mind about something, you know? And so what was your foray? Did you do it? Did you lean into it?
No, I didn't. But I want to bring up that I used to have a really big dick, and then I had a stroke, and I do not have a big dick anymore. And now I was telling Christian the other day, I'm like, this is not a small dick. This is a remnant of a once great civilization.
You know what it is? It's a balloon animal about 2 days after the party.
Right. That's what it is.
Right? It's Thor's hammer 2 days after the party.
Like this balloon used to be awesome. Okay.
Right.
Now this, not so awesome anymore.
Okay, but so wait, may I ask what the cause was? Is it a blood pressure thing? Is it
it was a blood pressure
thing? You have like vasosolator issues?
Like an artery thing.
Okay, it's an artery thing.
Fucked up arteries. Because I got something
And I would imagine with all of that going on, you can't take any sort of erectile medication.
Well, I took that
things?
once when I was alone. All right, and it didn't do anything but get me high. You know, like fucking, it made my head like kind of.
Which one did you take?
I took Viagra one time.
Oh, Viagra, terrible.
Yeah, fucking,
terrible.
it's
terrible.
But
I want to name them, right? Like I want to name, like I don't know what the Viagra's name is, stupid and long, right? Like it's
sildenafil. Yeah,
sildenafil, right?
Sildenafil. Yeah.
So you know I like Cialis, right? And
Right,
it's not just because of that. You know what the chemical name is for
what?
Cialis? Tadalafil. Tadalafil. Right? Tadalafil. Right? I mean, you gotta love that shit, right? Ta-da! And when Levitra came out back in the day, before they passed the law that the medical representatives couldn't give shit to doctors anymore, they used to have pens and shit like crazy.
Right.
The Levitra pen, I have it in that desk over there. I know I do. The Levitra pen was a little purple pen with an orange end, and you pressed a button on it, and the pen folded out of it.
Like a dick.
Oh, God, I was like, I got to take this pen. I need this pen. And I was walking then. I didn't know I needed that. But what I'm talking about really is trimix. If you can stand, or, you know, if Shauna's a little bit of a dom side, right? If she's a little bit of a top. Right, I'm sorry, not Shauna. Chris. Yeah,
dude,
Chris.
I'm getting me in trouble, Dick.
Yeah, Krisha. I'm sorry, Krisha. I'm seeing Shauna's name and Krisha's name on the thing, and it's in Shauna's name comes up in blue. So sorry, my apologies, Krisha. If Krisha's a little bit of a sadist, then maybe trimix is in your future where she gets to stick a needle in the side of it.
In the side of my dick?
Yes, jam a needle in that motherfucker, inject it with this shit, and watch instantly it go like it's like that. So I ran into a kid. He was in a hospital. Yeah, sorry, Christian. That was a bad faux pas. That's not normally like me. I need to get stoned again. So
seriously, I'm getting yelled at after that.
Are you? No, you're not. No, you're not. And if you are, you want to get yelled at. You're like, take out the whip with the sharp tip. That's what you say. I know you. I know you behind closed doors. You tell me take out the one with the glass end. You know?
Yeah, I'm totally the guy that takes it. Yeah.
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 Bottom bitch, right?
Yeah, I'm
the bottom bitch is always throwing up a big front. She's always throwing up a big front.
Right.
Okay. But no, so trimix is the chemical. It's a mixture of 3 different drugs, and you know, one opens it up, lets the blood in, the other one closes it off, doesn't let the blood out, and the third one more or less keeps it that way, I guess. And I've turned you like this phrase? I've turned a few people on to this. In the past that didn't know they could do it. So I was in the hospital in 2016 for that injury I had, and I met this kid named Jerry, and he was 18, 19 years old when he got in a car wreck and was paralyzed from the waist down. And when I found him, I say found him because he was like 21 and he was kind of fucked up, and he was on fentanyl and all this stuff, and he had some sores, and they wouldn't operate on him because he was a smoker and all of these things. And this poor kid's just rotting in a bed. And the ER doctor, I think, or no, the attending floor doctor was nice enough, went to Walmart, bought the kid a duffel bag full of clothes and a computer, right? And brought it to the kid. And when I found a kid, I was talking to my doctor, and she let something slip past HIPAA. The kid was there. So I asked the therapist to put it together. Like, we did it all legally, where he gave permission for me to come in his room and talk to him and all this bullshit.
You jerked the guy off, didn't you?
No, I didn't actually at all. I mean, I kind of jerked off his ego a little bit, you know, because what I did was I went in the room and I told him about all the experiences I did have with girls in a wheelchair, and how some people were freaks for that kind of shit, and that he was still capable of having an erection. And it gave me what it gave you, like when you were in physical rehab and you said, like, I want to help people. And this is what I wanted to get. This is like all the way back. We curve back to the beginning of the show right now, because this is a point I did want to make. When you get closer to it, I'd like to know how it affects you emotionally, because it really fucked with me to work with Jerry. And the reason why is this. When I was injured, I didn't own a home. I had a mortgage, right? But I still had shit, right? I had a business. I had a probably at the time, right, multi-million-dollar worth business. If you considered value of ball pythons at the time, right? I would think that there was a fair value there. And I came out with the ability to go to expos and have your whole community, the reptile community, raise money for me, my whole community, our community raise money for me, just like they raised for you.
Right.
feels great to have that. Almost feels guilty, right, to take it, but at the same time, when you need it and we're family, it's what it is. So you guys raise money for me. I had all this help, right? And here I am meeting this kid who was injured in high school as a football player. They didn't really educate him, bro. Like, Chris, they didn't like really teach the kid. The kid didn't really pass the grades, dude. He played ball.
Right.
And he lived in this town called Hammond, which has a college called Southeastern, which has a football team that gets regularly scouted for draft picks. And they're telling this kid, bro, you're going to go to SLU next year. You're going to be a freshman and you're going to get drafted to go to the fucking NFL. Right. This kid was that good. So when I found him in the bed at 21, paralyzed, he was watching his old football videos. And I'm like, bro, that motherfucker died.
Right.
He's gone. You're not going to run the ball like that ever again. If people know you for that, now you have something to beat. Right? And he tells me about his girlfriend he got injured with. She didn't get injured like him, but she was pregnant with his baby and she lost the baby. Right? And so tragic all the way around. And this kid, he didn't get fixed right. He broke his femur and his spine, and they only set his spine because he'd never use his leg again. So his femur set at a weird angle with a big osteo growth on it that actually rotated his femoral artery to the top of his thigh. So if he pulled his shorts back, bro, sitting in a wheelchair like me and you, if he pulled his pants back, you could watch his femoral artery rippling under his.
Yeah.
How dangerous is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't do any of that for this kid. And this kid is fucked with that shit. Like, his legs fucked up. He can't transfer right. They never taught him how to get in and out of a bed. You know, but he went through the same rehab as me, Chris. He had the same therapist and the same doctor.
Right.
So you know what I told him? You got no fucking excuse to be like this. I mean, I'm sorry. But if I had the same therapist, the same stay, the same hospital, same doctors, right? What makes me different than you? Don't tell me it's white privilege.
Right.
I mean, granted, my whole life, younger life, has been bathed in white privilege. I mean, there's no doubt. I couldn't imagine not having the life I had. And at the same time, it wasn't a killer life, but it was a middle class 80s to 90s life, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know what your style was when you were that age, because you are a little older than me, what your growing up style was. But my growing up style was I went to private school. I have good vocabulary and I use my dictation properly. I use proper grammar. I don't have bad grammar. That's poor grammar.
Yeah. Right? Lower middle class was mine.
Right. Okay. So I was definitely middle, I would say. Right. And my mom struggled with the money she did make and spent it on the most expensive private school in New Orleans. So I had those. And I was bullied heavily as a kid because we didn't have money. My mom drove a brand new Toyota sports car, but everybody else had a Beamer and a Mercedes or Ferrari or.
Yeah, but also like you're annoying, so fucking that's probably one of the reasons too. Like I can't imagine this annoying thing is just something that came on once you got operated on. I would imagine that you were a pretty annoying kid, fucking. Because I've seen that picture of you. Well,
would it be annoying or would it be knowledgeable at an age I shouldn't have been so knowledgeable? Maybe
Well, maybe it was that, but that bowl haircut was not helping you.
No, but like, please place that haircut, bro. This was in like Alice in Chains days. I mean, we're like, this haircut was grunge preppy kid haircut. Like, a lot of kids my age had this haircut. A lot of alternative band members had that haircut.
Yeah.
Sadly, I have a friend that still has that haircut, but it's okay because he's got a lot of money. But that's it. But we won't dwell on him too much. I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, it's you got to understand. I had two nicknames coming up in the industry. I'm going to say these on this live show. It's going to be horrible, right? This is how much humility I have or don't have. I don't fucking know. I was named Squeaky when I was prepubescent and in a car stereo shop or an aquarium shop rattling on, because there happened to be a common denominator. One guy named Kenny, who's dead now, Kenny Gibbs, and Kenny Gibbs said, "Hey, you squeaky motherfucker, come over here and help me with something." And so I ran over there to the dude because he had the baddest SVO Mustang street car that we were working on, and I was into it, and I was like 15, 16 years old, and I was so into this, right? And so I ran to Kenny's rescue. And you know what? I go in Coral Connection, my favorite and oldest stomp in New Orleans for reef aquarium stuff. It's like a club. Literally now, all they do is sit around and talk about aquariums and smoke cigars in the store. It's awful. But when I was a kid, it was the spot, right? It was the place to be. Everything coming in the city, everything that you wanted to see badass was at George's, was at Coral Connection. And George was like my dad I never had, you know? And George, if you're ever listening to this, bro, I know you wanted to fuck my mom, and that's why you gave me such great treatment back then, because you always, and still do, ask me, how's your mom? Right? How's your mom? Did your mom come today? Did your mom drop you off? I wanted to say hi. I know you always wanted to fuck my mom. All right, but it's fine because you never did, and she never would have gave you a chance. You had to give me the aquarium store. My mom holds out like that. My mom was a tough one, I think, at least. So I go into George's and I'm ready to talk coral with all my coral guys, and I walk in and they go, "Squeaky!" And I'm like, motherfucker. Bro, it terminated me. It killed me, right? It killed me. But then I realized everybody had a fucked up name. George, nobody even knows what George is. Is he Hispanic? Is he Puerto Rican? Is he fucking Hawaiian mix? What the fuck are you, George? So we call him Jorge, even though he doesn't spell his name with a J. He spells it with a G. Right. So George is Jorge, and I'm Squeaky, and, you know, this guy's that, and that guy's this, right? And everybody's got a name. So I went and ran with it. And then I started Exotics by Nature. And the guy that was the hardcore guy was 50 Fathoms Pet Shop in New Orleans, Mike Beebe, who now lives in North Carolina and works for Central Garden and Pet. And Mike Beebe and I kicked it off. And Mike didn't know the Squeaky name because Mike wasn't into saltwater, and Mike wasn't into car stereos and cars. So he didn't catch the name. So he gave me the name Worm.
Gave it a name what?
Worm.
Okay.
Worm.
All right.
WORM. Worm. And I said, Mike, what did I do to deserve the name Worm? He's like, there's not one time that I can't say something in this store that you don't quote some fucking book you read or something somewhere, and you're telling me what you know over what I know, and sadly, a lot of times you're right. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not right. I'm just repeating what I learned from greater masters, right? You guys in the reptile scene, Chris did his shit. I did my shit. I'm a fucking master. Sorry, not sorry. I put in my time. It didn't take falling off a deck to do it. It took 30 years of stomping this, and 24. It'd be 25 years of Exotics by Nature this July.
Right. Yeah.
25 years. 25 years, and I just had these shirts made for me this year.
Yeah,
that's how ambitious I am.
A little late to the party. Yeah.
Right. But everybody gets shirts, bro. All of them get shirts and stickers before they even make a snake.
Dude, yeah.
They don't even buy an incubator. They got sticker packs.
Well, I've
never had stickers. Yeah.
I want to talk about that because we were just talking about what getting stickers like fucking 12 years ago was like, you know, what you had to go through to fucking get a fucking sticker made. But when we started this, you started the podcast, right? When you started
Bullshit in 2015. Yeah.
2015. So
2015.
Who was doing anything even remotely close at that time? Reptile Radio, maybe?
So I would have been coming off of Reptile Radio's staleness of not doing episodes because they were breeders and full-time employed men, also running the BLBC forum, which was a full-time drama fest at the time too. And Herp Hooray, which was incredibly bad quality.
Well, and Josh Beatty.
Yeah, but Josh came a little bit after Herp Hooray with his show, right? So let's say the Herp Hooray guy, I'm sorry your name slips me, bro. You did great things. Jason, I want to say. Something. You did great things, but you did it on a teleconferencing site, just like Reptile Radio. So the quality was awful. I give it to the guy but he also did it on a site that was not syndicated where he couldn't save the episodes in perpetuity. Right. Like you couldn't just like me and you, we can pay StreamYard. I mean,
Libsyn.
Help me. Libsyn. We can pay Libsyn now they've reduced it. It's like $5 a month or $15. They got an even lower one now. It used to be $20 a month. Like I kept $20 a month being paid. I still pay it now.
Yeah, that's
so you can still listen to bullshit.
Yep.
You know, from 2015, you can still listen to Ben Rennick live before his fucking murderous wife, who did the podcast before him, killed him.
Right.
I mean, you can listen to all that shit. Still, go to any of your favorite podcast avenues. Look up BALLSH !T. That's your key to finding it, is putting the exclamation point in place of the I. And then if you do that, just like it's written on my screen here, my name right here, just fucking double screen shit. But yeah, right there, just like it's written right there, search bullshit, and you'll find it on Spotify, on iTunes, all that stuff. But you can listen to the original stuff. Chris, back in the day when Chris was a breeder, Chris Eyeballs, didn't we do a show? I think.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we did a show. And then you did one of my shows because I came out in 2016, right? We did a show and I never aired that show because I was like, it just became the fucking Sean show.
It did. It sounded like bullshit.
Fuck up. It sounded like a bullshit episode.
It's exactly what you told me. I canned it. I said, why? It was good. I vented. I vented my dude. I told you guys my whole side of Barchak now. Rest his soul. I'm not going to do it now, but
right.
I told you the whole side of that. I told you the whole Bob Clark thing. I thought I came clean on a lot of drama back then. It doesn't matter now. But at present time, it was kind of bearable. It was kind of like, well, it had a bearing. It's not bearable, but it was kind of had a bearing on what was a lot going on in my life because, Brian and I were going through a lot, and it was a lot, and
I actually felt bad during that time, but the video of you yelling at Barchak at Tinley, it still makes me fucking laugh like fucking every time I fucking come across it.
The thing is that the thing I hate most about that video is the fact that I was so offensive to Potter.
Right.
Because Potter's literally standing next to me like, Sean, shut it off, bro. Shut it the fuck off. Right. And I'm like, fuck you, Brian. I'm doing this. Right. But the thing is, though, I'll still stand behind principle and purpose there. Okay. Like that was a bad situation. Having those racks out on the curb like that, looking like they looked outside the most prestigious show in the world. Repticon doesn't do that with the inflatable Cobra head outside that you have to walk through.
Right.
Like they don't do that. And then at that point, I was basically saying how much for me to have a spot out on the curb. I'll set my booth up out there and bring my animals in at night.
Right.
I mean, because what kind of curb appeal do you have? Like, I didn't know we could rent the curb. Right. Like I'll have a fucking model, dude. Snakes and the Fat Man and I'll have a joint podcast table with a sexy model in one of those fucking Miami V-string one-piece thong suit things that barely nipple straps and straps around and shit. It looks like she's got a pull string on the back of her. We'll do that. Give us a spot on the curb.
Right.
How much for a spot on the curb? And that's what I said. That was what I said at the auction. What really riled me up the night before was the auction. Because I was like, what allows us to get our shit out on the curb? Where is the fairness in this? And why is the shit out there looking like crap? So, somebody asked me when he didn't have his diagnosis and stuff, if I was going to remove that information from my page. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to remove it because at this point, it doesn't really matter. The man has reformed his care abilities. He's changed his operation around himself and his interests. He's working in the right direction, chasing a dream at the same time. I'm trying to do that with my aquarium business idea. I don't need to be shitting on this dude. Right. And when I quit and I told you all on Martin Luther King Day of 2019 that I was going to open an aquarium store because I had a dream too, that I was going to sell out and do this. And a lot of people were like, oh, he's full of shit. Man, you're going to do it. And I fucking did exactly what I said I was going to do. And I texted Brian that day and I said, you don't owe me a return text. I want you to know that I'm flattered and thrilled that you're chasing your dream. I'm doing the same thing in a different direction. I would love if our paths crossed positively in the future. And I did that off and on throughout the 4 years that I booked out to the aquarium shop. Sorry, I got to move around. My spasms starting to trip. And I messaged them and I messaged them and I messaged them with nothing. And I reached out to a couple people, you included. And you remember I said, hey, if you talk to Brian, tell him. And I told MJ and I told Galen Clark, who's one of my close friends who talked to Brian weekly about business stuff. And I reached out and kept reaching out. And then the diagnosis came and I felt awful for his family and his children and himself as well. And I messaged him and I said, look, this is the last time I'm going to say it. I'm really sorry for my part in our feud. I had reasons. I have reasons to be upset. I'd love to talk to you about those reasons and reason them out. Maybe even do a podcast with you and all that stuff, because you were my father in Reptiles. Period. End of sentence. Ralph Davis never gave me gems like Brian and Lori did.
Right.
You know, Lori knitted quilts for my kids, both of them. My past late son, William, and my daughter, Bo. Both have blankets knitted by Lori Barchak. That's closeness right there.
Right.
Not even a lot of people that he's had on his podcast or on his show that you think are his best friends, I'm sure, have had that level of closeness. We were that close. And so it tears me up that I will probably never get to talk to Lori again.
Right.
I guess she probably won't ever speak to me again. Even though I tried to have his back on some things that happened, I don't want to talk about them here and liven them up.
Right.
But the thing, I had his back on that, and I was trying to assure everyone I was not involved in any sort of downfall for him, because I don't agree with that either. Right? Like, you're going to fall down, bro. You fall down on your own. I'm not going to push you down. However, if I'm in a situation and you're pushed down and I can kick dirt in your eye, I might, but I'm not going to be the one to really take that shove. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and we're going to work it out, or we're not going to work it out. And so we chatted back and forth in text, and we didn't really ever have that conversation, and obviously didn't ever have that podcast. Then we didn't have a closing conversation, but I did write him a message that he should have gotten in time, if we can call it that. And it was as heartfelt as it could be, and basically saying that I would like to continue on the legacy he left of helping young people get better in this industry. Like, if a kid wanted a gecko at a show and I hear the mom be like, we don't have the money for that, guess what? That kid's getting a free gecko.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. Period. The kid comes to me, is like, yeah, I got this snake from a guy and it was giving me trouble and it died. What kind of snake was it? Oh, it was a cord snake. Pick one out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and then at that point, finances don't matter anymore. Right. And like, I even had a helper this past year get angry at me because I gave a client a snake. Right. For free. But it was a ball python that was probably Cobra food worthy quality wise, as far as color and morph composition. Right.
Right.
And the girl would never, ever, ever, ever be able to buy a snake in her situation. But I know her older brother, and I asked her older brother, can she take care of it? And he said she can. So I gave her the snake. So my helper, in effigy, ended up quitting helping me because I told him how broke I was, but I'm giving snakes away. That was his reason. Right. But I'm like, bro, it's not this. I didn't give away some crazy pied with 2 heads and a fucking flaming dorsal fin sticking out of his back. You know what I mean? It was a shit snake that you wouldn't have bought for $30.
Right.
That I'm going to put $30 in the next 2 months feeding it and cleaning it. But that girl's going to give it a life and not put it in a jar with alcohol or in a ball like that globe. I've been talking to all these people on the Morph Market about this fucking snake in a fucking globe, in the Morph Market forum on Facebook. It's not in a fucking alcohol solution. It's not in a Cobra's shit box. The girl loves it. And dude, this was like a year ago. And she came to the last show. How's the snake? I love it so much. It has all this stuff. Right? What the fuck, dude? I don't have the girl's number. I'm not trying to get something from her. Right? I'm just simply saying, take this animal, give it a life. Maybe you spawn into some crazy fascination. And maybe you're the one that tops Justin Kabilka. If that's even possible. You have to sell that dream, dude. Remember that dream you bought from he who shall not be named and others who probably shouldn't be named just the same, the PKs, the BCs, the
RDs,
the RDs,
fucking,
but wait, what about the people behind the scenes, bro? Like, let's fade Ralph right now because he ain't coming back like Ralph ever was thinking he was going to come back. It won't ever happen. Ralph, I'm sorry. Love you as a dude. Don't really love you as a dude sometimes. He got handed his shit, right? Bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had it on this show. Bad. Humbled the fuck out of that dude.
Yeah.
Humbled the fuck out of him. And I'm sorry for your hardships, Ralph Davis. I am. I'm extremely sorry for him. But at the same time, bro, I remember when some people were cunts and then they got cancer and they weren't. And some people were cunts and then they were dropped off a building and paralyzed and became super cunts. Right. But one of the things that I'd like to dwell on when you said I was annoying was actually, it just popped in my head, was actually one of those moments when we can look at a forum fight between me and someone else and they could say, I'm not sure I agree with him, but at least he's well-spoken and he wrote it out eloquently. At least he bashes you with eloquence, right? Because nothing sits into a guy like Bob Clark when you insult him unless you insult him on the plane of an Ivy League.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Darian couldn't do it. Darian had him on the phone for how long?
Oh, yeah.
I had a motherfucker on it for 15 seconds before he hung up on me.
Right.
You know, that's how fast you can tell. Right. You know, Brian Scalaro, the fucking stand-up comic, had an affair with my ex over the internet because I used to date when she lived in LA. Right. I sat on the phone with that motherfucker for an hour and a half and tore up with him. I felt great after the phone call, bro.
Right.
I got to ad-lib verbatim with a stand-up comic that fucking was the little guy on the NFL Sunday Ticket for a year.
Right.
Who had his own show on Comedy fucking Central. Let's roll, dude. I loved that fight. I wish I could fight that fight once a week just to keep my brain fresh.
Right.
Right? But what good does it do, bro? What good does the anger do?
Well, it doesn't do any good. And, you know, you hit an age where you're like, fucking, is it worth it to fucking be? Because there are people now in this hobby that I absolutely just can't stand. Darian being one of them. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna tread lightly here, but okay.
No, you totally can because you know, I just
not that I'm afraid of the power, but that I do go back with the dude too, and I'm not woke.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing.
I'm not woke. Okay, I'm not WMV. I'm not woke mind virus at all. I'm not woke mind virus infected at all. I'm like Elon Musk and woke mind virus. Like I keep WMV over here, like weapons of mass destruction, like WMD. I keep WMV.
Right.
Like, because to me, if you think WMD is a threat, WMV is the biggest D you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. And you live in a place. Oh my God. If my southern ass lived where you lived, oh, we'd be a news story, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be one of these things. It'd be one of these things. We'll just stop there because of the wokeness. You know, I had a guy.
Dude, I know I got to live with it every fucking day.
Got it. You don't just have to live with it. You have to have it shoved down your esophageal passage constantly. It ends up in your lungs to where at nighttime you're rehearsing your pronouns in bed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I've insulted you and called you a woman and said, girl, when you had to correct me and tell me that you are a trans man and that's how you identify. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at your boobs because you covered them very well. Okay. Well, that's not why I said it. I said it because you have feminine features. I can tell you were born as a girl, so I'm trying to address you personally in a conversation. Yeah. And I'm sorry that I offended you because I could say that I'm somewhere on the spectrum of LGBTQ as well. I wouldn't call myself a fully straight male.
Yeah, you'll take a little dick every now and then.
No, not at all. But I have dated a couple of trans a couple times. You know, but I live in the city of trans, like New Orleans, dude. These transes look like fucking models on a runway. They don't look like men at all. They would flip every guy you ever saw into what they like, you know? But I can't really identify with the struggles, bro. I can't identify with the struggles of hormone therapy, right? Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, that you want to be, if you wanted to be a woman and be a sexy woman, the hormone therapy would castrate you.
Yeah. 100%.
So you're going to become a sex object that have absolutely no drive.
Yeah.
That's not a good life.
Yeah.
But you might be productive if you get a job where you can actually hold respect, but you get so disrespected everywhere you work. You know, and that's my problem with it all. Like, I want to accept everyone for what they want to do, but I don't want to give you a microphone to do it.
Here's my problem with it is that the kids, the kids is my issue with it. And the funny thing about the whole woke thing is that D. Snyder was going to host the San Francisco fucking gay parade, right? This guy's
I
been
just
a
think of the
trans
horror
guy.
movie. What was the name of the horror movie?
He
was a serial killer. He took a girl on the internet.
Yeah, I totally.
The town try to lynch him. Anyway, that's all I think of when I think of D.
He was like, he's been a trans guy his whole life. He dresses up like a 7-foot fucking woman his whole life, right? And they wanted him to be the spokesman for the LGBT.
Just think about how beat up he would have gotten in the locker room at the basketball game.
Right.
He got fucking beat up. In the showers, he was bleeding.
He was like, I agree with 99% of what you guys are fighting for. But just so you know, I don't agree with letting kids fucking take hormone replacement therapy and fucking, everything like that. They were like, oh, that's great. You don't agree with us? Fuck you. You're out. Okay. Right. For that 1% of disagreement, they're willing to turn on you. And I also don't think that they think, and this is all of them, the whole alphabet crew, I don't think that they're ready yet to be accepted if we can't make fun of them too.
Right.
Like fucking, just like with Obama. Like, were we really ready for a black president if every time we criticized something that he did, we immediately got called racist?
Well, exactly. But in the fact that he also was the first president to do a podcast and the first president to record himself saying the N-word with the hard R.
Yeah.
Mark
Maron, right?
Mark Maron's podcast, correct. Right. Which was a phenomenal podcast. It was amazing. It was amazing. And guys, if you want to listen to that Mark Maron's podcast, What the Fuck WTF, go back and listen to this podcast where they did an hour before Obama arrived, him and his producer all amped up, an hour with Obama, and then another hour after he left on the high that they just had the president in the garage.
Right. In the garage. They literally shut down his entire neighborhood.
Right. They had snipers on the roof across the street from his house. Right. Snipers on my neighbor's roofs, bro. I brought snipers to my neighbor's roofs. I mean, I love Mark Maron. He's a great guy. He's left as fuck, but he's a great guy. Right.
Yeah. No,
but it's fine. It's fine. I accept. But okay, I had this conversation the other day. I went to the gas station. I called the gas station. I asked them if they can help me pump gas so I don't have to get my wheelchair out. Right. But a lot of times I go to the same gas station. Now, management appreciates that because I'm a routine customer. They know I'm coming there to get $60, $70 worth of gas every time I fill up a Suburban, right? So they tell their employees, go help the guy with the wheelchair, thing. So this guy comes out, and he comes out to help me, and, he's just young dude, probably 18, 19, looked kind of mixed, actually, black and maybe Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Islander type, nationality or background and stuff. And I was like, bro, I really appreciate you helping me out here today. And I was like, and I want to tell you openly, I am not fucking woke. Right. And he looked at me and he said, let me ask you a question. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, what the fuck is woke anyway? And I said, woke is a term for people that feel they need to be labeled accepting of all of the rest of us. They need to feel that they have a label to tell you that they're a good person. And what I learned being a narcissist is running around saying you're a good guy means you're not really a good guy.
Right. Yeah.
So in that effect, yeah, man, I'm concerned about the youth too, right? I'm concerned about the youth because I'm concerned about laws protecting their ability to make a radical choice that affects the rest of their life in an already dwindling society of Americans. Okay. Yeah. You guys need to understand our population is actually shrinking here. We are having a birth rate issue in America. You may think we're having too many babies, but politically, we're behind the curve in production. And a lot of it is this single lifestyle, non-monogamy. I'm not saying, look, I'm about as anti-Christ as it gets. I'm about as anti-God and deity and all that stuff. I'm not going to hate on that stuff openly on this show. But I'm going to tell you right now, for me and all the stuff I've been through, again, lost son, lost back, all that stuff, I don't really have it in me to give it to anything that could have helped me. It didn't, so that's the end of that. But when you see the amount of people involved in this movement and the voice that they have is very scary. right? Like if your child defaces their body and doesn't have a reproductive future in an already dwindling society of population, right?
Right. But also, you have a daughter. Was she
I do.
13?
She's 11.
11. Okay. She's 11. So imagine if you were sitting there in your wheelchair, your daughter went to the bathroom, and some dude that's dressed up like a woman goes into the bathroom right after her. Something tells me that you would have a problem with that. Okay.
Okay. Now, and as a societal whole, I'm going to be honest with you here. I believe unisex bathrooms should have been a thing a long time ago.
Well,
I'll be honest with you. We all shit. We all piss. We at one point all know how girls do it, all know how boys do it, and even the trans have to do it in some way. And after watching this podcast, you even know how I do it in bags, right? Which makes me, by the way, a superhuman, because all the time you waste sitting and reading and thinking, I'm working and doing shit or enjoying my life. So I do believe that apparatus like this can further, like that's why Stephen Hawking might have been extra up there in the mind, because he couldn't fucking do anything else, you know, but sit there and think, you know, if all you could do is get high and think, then fuck, bro. Of course he was a quantum physicist. Right? Lizard Morphs has got a good point from Australia, and he doesn't want his daughter in a bathroom with Chris.
I don't. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you don't want that. So let me just say, unisex bathrooms are a thing. Okay, I get this from, what was that show, Boston Legal? You remember that show,
Yeah,
Boston
I remember
Legal?
James Spader, man.
James Spader. So James Spader's going to the unisex bathroom in Boston Legal, right? Okay, remember that fact about Boston Legal was the unisex bathroom, which was part of the half the comedy shtick of the whole fucking show was the unisex bathroom. He goes in the bathroom and he takes a leak and he goes in to shake the hand of someone in the bathroom. And they ask him if he's going to wash his hand. And he looks at him and he says, I keep an extraordinarily clean penis.
Right.
Honestly, I did too. Kept an extraordinarily clean penis. If you didn't trust my handshake after opening a doorknob, but touching my dick, where do you think I've been? Well, how good am I at talking to get me there?
Well, I like that George Carlin bit where he's like, I'm exhausted with this washing your hands shit. He goes, let me tell you something. When I go to the bathroom, I wash my hands before I touch my dick.
Right, okay? Exactly.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it after the fact, because again, he keeps an extraordinarily clean penis.
Right.
You know, and just like James Spader said in the show, you can go find that skit probably on YouTube right now. Just look up James Spader clean penis. It's probably a scene, probably a snippet. Somebody made a reel out of it to make fucking $10,000 that Chris and I didn't make on YouTube. Making a reel of somebody else's hard work. Copyright infringed reel of someone else's hard work, and they made a living. We can't rub two nickels together.
But let's get back to
but no, unisex bathrooms though, I really think is a thing. But would I worry about that? Honestly, I want to train my daughter to where if anybody tries to come at her, she makes so much fucking noise and claws like a fucking animal that there's either a blood trail or a sound bite to go by, right? Because I want a fighter, not a flighter. I want to raise a daughter who's willing to earn and not take the easy way out, right? I tell her all the time, you're going to be small and you're going to be gorgeous. You cannot use that for anything but an introduction, period. Because let's face it, dude, the women that surround our lives, a lot of them have made their money by their looks. Or like, dude, I live in a city where a lot of the people that I'm attracted to happen to be strippers. I don't go to strip clubs. I don't. But I meet somebody that happens to be a stripper. I actually really like one now. She's really awesome, but her party lifestyle in a club is not okay with me. Right. And I would not date her unless she was not. She's also a massage therapist at a casino regularly. But at the same time, I really care about the girl, but I really hate to see her wreck her life. But she's beautiful and she's 30 and everybody feeds her drugs and money. And she just acts like a shithead, you know, and she's got kids and she needs to stop and smell like roses because 35 is coming soon and 40 is it. 40 is the waiting tables at the strip club age, right? Yeah. I mean, that's it. You used to be hot. You used to be up there. And in the middle of the day at the lunch break, if somebody doesn't show up and they need somebody, you might have a locker there with some extra clothes in it. But let's face it, you're not headlining a Friday or a Saturday night and making $3,000 a night anymore, right? But think about that, Chris. I mean, you did rock and roll, so I can't compare. But you also probably lived a destitute life when you were in fame. A lot of rockers do.
I lived a destitute life before there was a little bit of fame.
Right.
You know, I mean, that was the horror show part of it, you know. But once you make it even a little bit, because you could be an unknown band making millions of dollars a year and fucking nobody knows you. Yeah,
so two of my friends were the leads in Drowning Pool when it came out. When they came out, so they both lived in New Orleans. They were both traveling to Austin to do shows with the other guys from Texas. But Mike and CJ from Drowning Pool, not the guy that died, he was the lead singer, he was the Texan. But Mike, the drummer, and CJ, the guitarist, one of the two, or flipped them backwards, whatever. They were both New Orleans guys. They were both friends of mine. One of them worked in a pet shop that I used to go to all the time.
Actually, well, right. That's the whole thing.
He worked in 50 Fathoms. He was driving like fucking all-nighters to go to Austin and do his shows. And then one show they did, Daryl from Pantera was there with Anselmo, who actually Chris Anselmo married a girl, lives in my town. Like Chris had a house not far from me, where I live. Anselmo and Daryl showed up at this show they did in Austin and was like, we got to get this Drowning Pool opening for Pantera. And that was when they came back. They were high as fuck on life. They were like, we're going to open for fucking Pantera. And I was like, you guys did it. See ya.
Yeah.
And Mike was like, I want to stay here and live in New Orleans. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out. Go. And then they did, but they toured that first tour and they told me that there was like no money. Like it was all signed away. The first album was all record label, made all the money. And that was Bodies Hit the Floor, dude. Right. That was the album that the fucking WCW licensed the song for wrestling, bro.
Right.
Let the Bodies Hit the fucking floor. I mean, that was a giant. So it's still a giant song amongst the bros that drive Corvettes, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, you know, at that point.
No, it doesn't. But they didn't make any money, bro. Anyway.
We did 18 shows for Bon Jovi and fucking we were the opener for the opener. Right. Like, so we were on that 3-band bill where we weren't even on the ticket. Right. And we thought we had hit it. We were getting paid $500 a show or whatever. Fucking $800 a show.
You ain't fucking eating on that. If you had family back home, you weren't feeding the family.
You can't fucking eat. What fucking
your wife was working back home if you were married.
Right. Fucking 6 guys fucking, you know, splitting up $500, you know.
Oh, all these guys were single dads at the time, bro. None of their women would stay with them.
Yeah. Well,
their baby mamas, all of them were gone. They were all.
My singer was a single dad, and I remember when we got the and he was a single dad of a kid with autism, right?
Oh, geez.
So fucking when we got our advance from the record company, everybody's out there like buying fucking Corvettes and Harleys and shit like that.
Yeah, he's just paying the debt.
He had to pay for somebody to watch the kid while we were on tour, right? So he ended up getting a fucking PT Cruiser, right? Fucking 7 foot tall motherfucker in a PT Cruiser.
Oh man, that the laughs you have now.
That whole tour, his name was fucking PT Loser, right? Like that, because we just fucking made fucking fun of him.
Harsh, right? Harsh, like Squeaky and Worm, right?
Well, right. It's like fucking
harsh, bro.
But harsh. You know, like Squeaky. Did that ever?
No, George still calls me Squeaky today.
Yeah, but did that ever grow into anything? Because I remember my nickname growing up was Teabag, right? And fucking
did you get teabagged?
Well, because no, a guy was telling me a story that he dipped his nuts in a chick's mouth, right? And I was like, oh, so you fucking did it like a teabag, right? And he was like, yeah. So ever since then, he started calling me Teabag. But the name evolved over the course of years. Like it turned from Teabag to Baggy to Bagster.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't get anything cool. You know, I'm not like Squeak Dog or anything like that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm still Squeaky. I'm still Squeaky. And then to the guys at 50 Fathoms, the manager of 50 Fathoms, Mikey, whose nickname was PD, which was Pencil Dick. Pencil Dick's nickname, because he was a kid when he started working there, y'all made fun of him because he hadn't gone through puberty yet. He was a little kid. And that was when I started Exotics by Nature in 2020. I mean, in 2000, the year 2000, Y2K. I started EBN and he started working at Mike's at 50 Fathoms and he's still there. He runs it for the current owner, Dane. And so like whenever I'm talking to customers and they're like, hey, I went by 50. And I'm like, oh, yeah, who you deal with over at 50? Oh, I deal with PD. Bro, I know I'm dealing with an old school motherfucker. Because since Mike sold that shop after Katrina, like 2006 or 7 after Katrina, PD killed the name, Pete Pencil Dick. Now he's Mikey, and Mikey's the manager of the store, right? Now he's Mikey. But anybody's been going there since Katrina days, 2005, been calling this kid PD. So I'll be at a Reptile show now and be like, yeah, I was buying by PD the other day and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, yep, that motherfucker, I've known him since they gave him that name. You know, I've known him since they gave him that fucking name. Yeah. But see, here's the thing. PD transferred one because his name was fucking was derogatory. His name was bad. My name showed me as smart because it stood for bookworm.
Right.
PD comes on when Mike leaves. PD tells everybody in New Orleans that my name stands for worm because I'm a slimy crook.
Oh, okay.
All right. And so then I got to fight this shit for years. Right. And there's a couple, Kevin and Nicole Kane and Reptiles, and we were good friends, and they bought a bunch of ball pythons on credit cards. And I bought a bunch of ball pythons on credit cards. And then my rodent guy wanted me to, I've now since admitted all this. My rodent guy wanted me to buy a bunch of ball pythons as a front for him. So half the morphs I bought with my credit, the other half the morphs he bought with his cash. But he didn't want anybody in the New Orleans area, any of the pet shops, to know he wanted to buy high-end ball pythons because he didn't want any of them to think he was making so much money on rodents that he could spend $100,000 on snakes.
Right.
Because then they wouldn't buy from him. That's like the politics of people in the South, right? You're doing better than me? Fuck you. You go make your money yourself then.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's really how they look at it. Even if you're buttering their bread, they'll be like, you know what? My bread can be dry for a while. Fuck you. I'll go find me a butter guy that needs my money, needs my business. You know, that's the kind of shit that ends up happening, right? So he was like, I want to stay side. There was no reason. He didn't lift the price of mice to make more money to buy the snakes, right? There wasn't anything like that. It wasn't profiteering wise. It was just a guy who made good money and socked it away smart and wanted to spend it smart. And he saw me spend it, decided, let's do it. You know, and he spent probably 100, and I spent probably 100, you know? And so we had a thing. We bought an ultrasound machine together. I went to his place, ultrasounded everything, bred it. He got the eggs, brought them to my place. I incubated everything as all of ours. I fed everything. So I wasn't reselling you guys anybody else's shit. Like, I was doing all the work, you know, but I was just not breeding the adults. He had a rat farm in Mississippi. So we were just feeding, you know, doing the thing. And he's still doing it. He's still doing it, but he still won't ship. He's still old school, won't ship. Does local shows, all that stuff. We don't talk. We've had falling outs because he was mad.
Right.
He got mad. You know, but it's like, dude, we moved. Instead of looking at this situation like this, we moved an epic amount of snakes all over the world together, and we both made good money doing it together. You got to look at the fact that I gave you less wholesale than you thought was good.
Yeah.
Really? No. Like, of the zeros I wrote you in checks and the work I did selling something. And the thing is, now I wish we had a speaking relationship, Chris, because now that he's been selling it on his own for this many years, I want to just be like, how much work do you think it takes to get this shit in countries that don't have it?
Right.
You're trying to get your shit out of Mississippi, and you're doing it by going to shows in fucking Memphis because your wife loves Elvis, and Louisiana because it's a short drive over and the food's good. Like, dude, we made a living for each other, right?
Right.
And you're gonna go and tell people I stole from you because I gave you $500 for pies in 2009 when Ben Siegel would have gave you $450. I mean, fuck you, right? Like, at the end of the day, fuck you. Like, I said, how much for yellow bellies wholesale? You got an ivory male. I have no doubt you have yellow bellies, even if they don't look all that yellow in the belly. Like, Ben Siegel's like, I'm not paying you for this one. I don't think it's a yellow belly. Bro, the dad's an ivory. It's a yellow belly. It's fine.
Right.
Right? So I'm like, how much for yellow bellies? I'll give you 70. Oh, Ben Siegel's giving me $75 a piece for them. Okay. I'll give you $75 a piece for all the females. And you can send him the males for whatever. So he sends him the males for $75. Ben sends him back a check at $15 a piece because they're all fucking males.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, did you demand the money you agreed on when you shipped him the snakes, or you just roll over and play dead because it works for Hognose? Fuck is your problem, dude? You know, and then Marshall Van Thor and I, I'm sorry to say, we have a rift in our friendship because my psychosis lately, my psychotic self, is a little too much for Mr. Colorado and his peacefulness because he's very peaceful.
Yeah, I know.
And Marshall's a very peaceful guy. He actually won't even take my phone calls or texts anymore, and I thought he was a brother. So, Marshall, I still would like to talk to you if you hear this at all. Or anybody that knows Marshall and you want to reach out to him for me, tell him I would love to have a heartfelt conversation with my old friend without violent anger. But I reached out to him one night when I was feeling really bad, bro, and I like dumped everything on him. And he was like, I don't know if I should call a hospital for you right now. And I'm like, bro, I'm not like that. Like, we go way back, right? But Marshall's doing a deal with Amir Soleimani from yellowbellyball.com and fucking XYZ Reptile, the founder of Snakes at Sunset in Miami. No longer the owner, but the founder. And Amir asked Marshall, can I ask you something about Sean? Does he ever do a deal that he's not ultimately on top of? And I actually asked Amir about that this summer in Daytona. I faced like, hey, dude, let me ask you about something. That conversation with Marshall, I mean, he kind of denies it, but I'm like, tell me. And he's like, dude, you were in business for you. And I'm like, thank you. That's all you got to say. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you have to say is that I wasn't in business for all of you, but I didn't save any secrets. I told you all how to ultrasound everything. I told you how to fix eggs dying with fucking liquid Band-Aid in 2004. I told you all this shit, all these secrets. We talked about how to tell a pied from a het pied from a non-het pied. We did all this shit before Chris even thought about buying ball pythons. Well, no, you had ball pythons then, but you weren't in the business heavy, right? Or you were watching the scene. But there was never a piece of information I held back. There was never a person on a forum I didn't help in King Snake or Ralph's forum. We were like hard hitting. You know, I mean, I was the first moderator for King Snake chat in 1997. And so it's all been free help, right, Chris? Like, dude, you're making a little money with this podcast by way of merchandising. And Jesus, notice how few super chats you've gotten tonight.
I have that, but I feel bad asking people for super chats because I think that's bullshit.
It's fine because we all know YouTube takes most of it anyway. So
yeah,
or at least half of it. And that's just disgusting because if they wanted to donate to you, they should donate. They shouldn't even use your Patreon. They should just get your PayPal address and send it right to you.
Yeah, but I don't want that. Like, I'm not.
You don't want that.
Like, I was never doing this because
no, you
for
don't.
money for it.
You know,
like, but I appreciate the super chats. I fucking am a big fan of the super chats. If you want to give them, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to ask you for a fucking super chat. I will say,
and especially not in the time of this economy. Go spend that money on your family for dinner. You know.
Right.
Like, go do something else with that money or get it to Chris in its full amount. Right? I breed ball pythons. I don't have any money to super chat. I mean, I feel for you. I feel for you, Morphic, because I don't really know you. And at one point, I knew you. I knew you all. At one point, I knew Justin Kavilka, a 15-year-old kid standing on the other side of my table of multi-zero ball pythons making a list. And that's it. Like I said earlier, when I said I was a master, I was fucking master, period.
That's the thing I wanted to talk about and we're over 2 hours right now. So I know this goes against every grain in your fucking body, but I'd like to make this quick. All right. What do you think of the podcasts that are out there right now? Because when we started, there was 3. And now there's fucking 75.
So I've been talking about bringing bullshit back. For what reason? Why? Because I can pack more info in my show than most of you. Period. Especially that off-topic Tuesday thing. That off-topic Tuesday thing is worth its grain of salt. It's worth all the salt to me in the shaker. It really is. Because it's not about ball pythons. Because I'll be honest with you, I do feel ball pythons are kaput. But I think there's hierarchical levels of ball pythons, and I think there's a circulating fund in ball pythons at the upper end. And I think this is a lot like retail in something like crypto or stocks, what you would call retail, which would be the ones that you make the money off of. But they're also the last ones you make the money off of because let's face it, you can't short the ball python market.
Right, but what do you think of the current group of podcasts?
This is what I wanted to say. Thinking about bringing ball shit back, I'm talking to Jason of Basement Ball Pythons because I wanted to do ball shit basement with him as a co-host because I don't want to do just me in the monologue. I want somebody else with a mute button for me. Okay. I want that.
Sort of just like that, right? Yeah.
It's like, okay, so it's gone now, so I can talk. The host has unmuted your mic. Precisely like that. Okay. So, because if you remember, one of our fun shows that didn't come on Comedy Central very often was the Benson interruption.
Yeah.
Where Benson could just interrupt. And I'll be able to turn the mute off if I really want to. Right. And so that's the idea. The idea is have someone there who's a little more balanced so I can just kind of sit aside like Doug did. And whenever there's a thing that I really need to say, I could be like, but I don't want to abuse it. And I really, so Jason sends me this lineup of podcasts, like the TV guide of Reptile podcasts. And I was blown away by the infant stupidity of just that idea alone.
Right.
Like,
that was the one Texoma made, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With the lines, with the icons, with the dots, with the thing, right? Texoma, like, unbelievable. I have to salute you for the most insanity that I've ever seen. And the fact is that it's racially divided sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean to be, but it is. Like the cafeteria in high school.
Right.
Right? Like, we're not enemies. We're friends. And some of us probably don't like some of us because things didn't go right on their podcast. But that one podcast is gone right now. Right now. When that dude kicks the bucket, though, if I'm alive, that podcast is going up. But I don't want to deal with any hate. Y'all can just hate him after he's dead. But really, dude, what do I think of it? I think I want to know who you want to watch and why. And are they just yakking about what they love? Because you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. Gamers are doing it on Zoom, trying to make a life for themselves, and they suck at the game and have no personality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what do? I'm a Zoom streamer. Really? Really? Like, I'm like, really? You're really a Zoom streamer? I'm like, I feel like such an asshole because now I'm talking to a kid with a haircut like I had you were talking about earlier. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, how serious do you take it? Because back when I did bullshit, bro, I had that problem of herp, hooray. Jason did it through that teleconferencing site to hook back around, and it sounded really bad, right? And that's when I got lost in message, and I started researching podcasts, and I talked to you a little bit, and I talked to a few people, and a few people were like, you should do this. And Rachel, my ex, my kid's mom, was like, do you know when you go to a show and you stand there, sit there and talk, people gather around you. They come, they go, but you never shut up, but you still orate to the public. And I said, yeah. And she was like, you need a podcast. And so I said, okay, well, we're making money with ball pythons, right, Chris? I mean, puzzles were doing well.
Yeah.
But nobody knew about puzzles. Nobody knew anything about puzzles. And when you the first fucking thing about the Gene, it was, 2014, and they still hadn't caught a win. They'd been out for 5 years.
Right.
And nobody had caught on to them. Everybody was clowning up like a fucking pied and clowning up like fucking crazy. And then, of course, the Kodam fest went on and sucked all the money out of everybody. And it just didn't catch on. And so I found this guy, Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast coach. I think I sent you some of his links back in the day. But he had a podcast about podcasting, and it was every Thursday for an hour or whatever. But he podcasted all Thursday. He had a family podcast, a religion podcast, a health podcast, and a podcast. And he made his Thursday his studio day, and he made a career out of that. And he was making, I think consulting and everything. I think he came down. He was making like $80,000 a month or something doing that. And I was like, wow, okay. So I started watching this guy, Cliff Ravenscraft, and I cloned his studio. It's right in the other room. It's the Heil PL40 mic, PR40 microphone. It's the 16 channel Mackie board or whatever I had with the compressor limiter gate on the rail and all this stuff, right? And I spent $2,000 on gear, and then I gave the guy $1,000 in coaching to teach me how to use it all, right? And I came out with bullshit sounding crisp and clear as we sound today maybe even clearer and crisper and tighter because I was FM compressing the fuck out of myself. Meeting women at shows, they're like, I love your voice. I even had that moment. I had a Howard Stern moment with that podcast with a woman in Australia that said, I love your voice. I actually diddle myself to your voice. And so I called her on the podcast thing and I talked her through her right? And it was fun. She didn't sit on the speaker and all that shit. I mean, that's just ethically rip off. I can't rip off that man that much. But really, dude, to answer your question, did they spend the money? Did they do the thing? Now the gear is caught up, right? I mean, you can go out and be a pro for $1,000, mega pro for $1,000, maybe not super pro for $1,000, but you know, you can make an impact, right? For under $1,000.
Yeah.
So any dipshit's like, well, shit, an ad online costs that much. This shit's free.
Right.
So I love, let them talk about what they want to love and what they want to talk about. Let them promote their businesses. But are they bringing valuable long-term standing information to the stage? Probably not. I don't know. Are they? Who is? But I do love the diversity. I love the diversity. I mean, Nicole's one of my favorite people in the world. The fact that, the fact that I came back to podcasting and was met by a late 40s, African-American woman, mother, sister, you know what I mean? Like person in the world that I didn't expect to see podcasting about the future of ball pythons or the future of snakes in general. Now retics a lot of stuff. She works with a lot of retics too, right? So, but the fact is I was on a podcast with her. We did a long 3-hour, 4-hour run and she broke it up. We talked about her dog wound and stuff. The fact that she still has a heart for animals after a heinous attack from a dog, and things like that. It goes a long way with me with people and acceptance too, because I wanted to make it known that I wasn't the white privilege that I sound like I probably am, that I was in an interracial relationship with an Asian woman for 10 years. And it's how you all met me, as a company. Celia and I built this business together, and even in those moments where I was struck by those, like we were in Tinley Park and a girl came up to me, a white girl came up to us and she was with her boyfriend who was a black guy. And she was like, I want to know what it's like to be in an accepted interracial relationship. And I was like, dude, this is Chicago. Isn't this like, this is more accepting here? No. And she was like, no, we get hated on all the time. And I was like, it's disgusting. It's like back to the unisex bathroom. It's just like, why aren't we all just, I don't know. I want to say bonobos. Why do we got to chimp up? Why can't we just love and fuck? Why can't we, And so from the podcasting thing, like there's a lot of contention. There's a lot of, hey, look at me. And honestly, if you have something to bring to the table, bring it. But if you want to talk about your hobby, just
as a young podcaster, how do you know if you're bringing something to the table? And
if you get a comment from someone that tells you changed their life.
Yeah, but that's not happening on shit like fucking these dumbass shows.
I'm not going to pick a name to target for that, but I will tell you this. You've gotten one.
I've gotten a changed my life thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got a change my life email about a song I wrote. And that's means more to me.
It's the same thing though. I didn't write a song.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing to me. When people tell me, like, oh, you've made me feel, better, like through a shit time, I definitely appreciate that. And I'm glad I did it. But it wasn't me creating anything and throwing it out there. The song was at least me creating, something out of nothing.
Because so you don't think ambition is creation?
To a point, but not really. No.
You're a very physical person.
Yeah.
We're not taught we got to talk like metaphysics and step out a little bit on this.
Well, that's why I hate
something on this.
That's why I hate when ball python people call themselves artists. It's
okay. So wait, no. I was an artist, hands down. Was an artist with a flesh canvas.
You were not.
Now I'm an artist with this.
Yeah,
if you will.
You put two snakes in a tub that were gonna fuck anyway. They fucked. and then you created something out of that.
That's not the art. The animals did not know their genetic compositions whatsoever. They were just ball pythons that wanted to fuck.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, let's say this. If you put a room full of morphs together, would you have the same target results that I had and we had collectively in the early days of ball pythons? I'm not talking about now with 5 genes over here and 5 genes over here. I'm going to breed them together and see what I get, and then call a guy like Sean or Chris to ask them what the fuck each one of them is. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about us when we were like targeting things like when Greg Graziani bred a fucking pastel to a cinnamon and made a pewter, and none of us thought you could get silver out of a ball. And then we're like, okay, let's work this into piebald and let's make a silver and white snake. Let's work this into axanthic and see if we can make it even more silver.
Right. But did he know what he was creating before he did it?
No, he didn't. But then again, the first cave paintings on the wall could have been the similar start. And I'm not saying this is some, greater purpose, because they're fucking ball pythons, and sadly we've forced them into slavery, basically.
I think there has to be intent behind the art.
There was intent. There was intent.
There was
absolute intent.
Something new, but not knowing what you were going to make.
What? When I bred an albino to a piebald to make a double head albino pied, I didn't know I was going to get an albino version of a piebald. Come on.
Well, simple things like that. Yes.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Simple things like that.
I mean, Hitler could have been an artist breeding a fucking dwarf, whatever, little person to an albino, and ultimately making albino dwarf human beings, because one's codominant and one's genetic. It could be done. But you wouldn't call him an artist for doing it. You'd call him a monster. But, in the way of art, I do believe, well, there you go. Art is subjective. I think you don't have to be a Jedi to know that. Especially not when the fact that Andy Warhol signed a fucking Brillo pad box and it sold for $25,000 on eBay because all he did was shit on canvas. I mean, like abstract painters, Basquiat, for instance. I mean, dude, I love Basquiat's art. One of my favorite artists. But it's fucking abstract shit. Actually, believe it or not, my favorite painting ever is Basquiat's Backbone. Look it up. It's actually a backbone. It's a spine and stuff. It's moved the fuck out of me. I saw it in person. I could have reached out and touched it if I wouldn't have cut my arm off. But art is subjective. And I do believe that there is something there. Now in ball pythons, no, this is a unhinged clusterfuck. Is the best 2-word analogy that I have to where you're at with ball pythons now. You have the floor, which is a feeder animal, and the top, which is a multi-month mortgage payment.
Okay.
And the middle is like not moving at the rate it needs to move for everyone to keep cooking. Right. And so there's a disparity there. And that disparity is scary. It's scary. I wouldn't want to be there. I was there when every ball python that wasn't a normal was here. And they were new morphs that were rare. And there was only 5 people in the world that owned them.
Right.
Now you have no new morphs. And we got people like my boy Jared Smith. It's like, bro, you're too old school. You just don't understand. We have enough morphs to keep us going for a long time in captivity. I was like, not for the money you want to make. Not for the money you need to make.
Definitely not.
Not for the money you need to make. You need to be in Africa pulling new genes, and now they need to be 100K coming out of the cooker in the States, meaning after they were proven out by a big wig like a Barchak, a Will Banks, a Kabilka, a Bob Vu, or a whoever else, right? I don't want to flatter the rest of you with naming, but really, what does it take to make the next ball python like rocket? Like, you got to make me, in wearing this shirt, want to go in there and look at follicles and count how much money I'm going to make buying one of these in 5 months. Right. Because I'm going to buy a male in 5 months that was born before September of that year, and I'm going to get it breeding in 5 months, and I'm going to use an ultrasound machine, and I'm going to breed 20 fucking girls to it and get 15 clutches of eggs and hatch 50 of them if it's codom, or hundreds of them if it's hets. I'm going to destroy you. And that's what it was for me back then when we got the banana, right? Got the banana, $50,000. Started feeding it. feeding it every single day. My 5-day-a-week feeding. 5 months in, he's breeding. We hatched 39 bananas that started hatching when I was in the hospital with the spinal injury.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys did raise a bunch of money for me. And a couple breeders out there who I won't name wanted me to give the money back because of all the money I made on bananas. And that was just stupid, right? Because Limey, who's one of the guys that led the charge to raise money for me, I asked Limey, I was like, bro, how can I pay you back? And he was like, if you try to give me $1, I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah.
He was like, we did all that for you and your family. That's your money. So I said, what if I raise money for USARK? And that's when I went on my stomp and raised like over 40 grand for USARK. And I was like, let me raise with my own snake donations, puzzle donations, a lot of years, right? Like $10,000, $12,000 a year in puzzles every year for 4 or 5 years, added up to almost like 40 something thousand. It was like 44 or something. We figured it out a long time ago. I always quote a different number. It was somewhere in the 40s, something like that, of what that number was. And it was like, that's me redeeming that donation. Right. That's me redeeming that donation. I'm sorry that Justin Kabilka's employee had a brain tumor, but he hasn't raised anything for this industry since they raised 4 times the amount of money they raised for me. I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we raised money for people that passed away, right? Brian and Troop Rico Walder, right? Brain cancer. Rico, brain cancer. We raised money for Tel Hicks when he rolled out of the bed at 70 and fractured his spine and couldn't paint, right? We raised money for him. But I was the first real money raiser, right? I was the first real, somebody got fucked up. Yeah. I was the first one of those. And now you're a beneficiary of that too. You know who else was a beneficiary of that? Oddly enough, the train conductor in Russia that delivered all the snakes to crazy fucking Pete. And all those other crazy Russians.
Yeah.
He got caught after 20 years of smuggling reptiles from Germany to Russia. He got caught, and the only thing they did to him as a Russian was fire him. And so Peter, being the crazy fuck that he is, being as loud and proud as he is, raised money in the name of Sean Bradley and USARK. They raised like 6 months, 9 months income for the train driver that smuggled all the reptiles into Russia. And I was like, that's the brotherhood I'm talking about. Like, he didn't get injured, but he got financially injured, but he was helping all you guys, and that's how he got fucked up.
Right.
So you guys all stepped up. Like, I love that camaraderie. And I hate to use the word comrade because, camaraderie kind of organized itself in that big fucking country, right? It's their word for friend. But the camaraderie there was great. Dude, to see everybody run to sign your mannequin leg and like have them go through the trouble of going to get that fucking leg and negotiate the leg and film the leg. I mean, yeah, there are a couple of attention whores in there that are doing it for fame, but people like Adeline aren't. Adeline is doing it because she loves you. You know what I mean?
Well, Adeline doesn't even know me though. But I'm very appreciative that they did it, and I had a hard time taking the money.
Yeah.
And I called up JT and I called up Corey Martin, and I was like, listen, my insurance is paying for this shit.
Yeah. And what did they fucking tell you?
They're like, dude, just take the money with a smile on your face and be thankful.
Posthumously say thank you and try to give back.
The next time this happens to somebody else, just fucking, pay it forward. So I was like, all right, that's what I'll end up doing. But on that note, we're gonna end this because 2 hours and 37. I mean,
I love you. I love you having me on this podcast. I had there's things that I've been working on in the back scene of trying to design a new cage, a new thing, a new idea. And is there anything fresh anymore, Chris? Is there anything fresh?
No. There's repetitive stuff that fucking gets stolen and
right. Well, look, I'm gonna give you guys some steel bait right now because they got to machine it and they got to get their way that way. And I want to show you one quick thing before we go.
All right,
this is the way when I was 14 and I had my first boa constrictor and I had to sign a contract with my mother to be able to own it, saying that it would never escape the cage. I asked my cousin, who mentored me in reptiles initially, to help me build a cage. that the snake couldn't escape from. So we ransacked our brains and we figured out a way to build a cage. And I've never seen a cage open and close that way ever again. And I want to show it to you now because it's right behind.
Right. Good.
All right. So I'll slide it over here. Move the microphone a little bit this way so we can directionally get me. This is actually the vertical cage. It fits on this rack. All my cages fit on this metal rack now. So these NSF racks from Sam's Club and Walmart and stuff,
right?
They just go right on that. And this actually will fit 6 of them wide on the shelf. So like raising up chameleons, geckos, things like that, perfect cage. Because it's like a computer tower size cage.
Right.
You can actually slip egg crate, if you're gecko people, right through the opening. It fits. It's easy to access. But the way the door works is it just comes off. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's got vents so that you can have, but the door is polycarbonate. So it's warp resistant under humidity. It's not acrylic. Acrylic only lasts 2 weeks on this design. But the way it goes in, just goes in through the top. It's down. It's done. It's locked. It'll never get out. When you want to replace the front, we sell it fronts for $10. Scratch it up, get a new front. Right. Every time you take your animal out of the cage, all that snot that's all over the front all the time, when they have sliding glass doors, all that nasty shit that you don't clean off every time you should, clean off now, easily. The handle bolts on through there.
Right.
You know? Solid stainless hardware, 3D printed handles, ergonomic handles. And I've got this door front for every cage. Oop, there you go. But look, you just put it on there, and it's animals never getting out of that. Ever.
Right.
Not escaping. And you have it in your hand where you can clean it and all that stuff. And another thing I designed was a show box that sits on your table. The back slide, the top's completely clear. Imagine that box that all these people wanted to show like a 5-foot snake that you never can buy anywhere, like a bigger snake at a show. The first one's 2x2. It's got a clear acrylic front. The whole body's PVC. The top slides back. And when the top slides back, it allows you to take dividers out. But the back also opens exactly like this cage I just showed you. So if you want to access the snake in the back compartment, you have a door. The front compartment, you have a slide. It's got one lock that goes in. Just like these will have a lock option at the top. That top rail right there will have one plunger lock right in the middle. And that plunger thing, I'll have to give you a graphic that you like on this show. That plunger thing goes right in that hole and it blocks the door from coming up. Just like on the display rack. The thing that slides back can't slide back because the pin is in it, but the pin goes down through it and locks the back door in.
Okay.
And then finally, things that I'm printing are more interesting things like this gecko feeder adapter. And I'll have an acrylic plate that it goes to. I'm just going to demonstrate with this piece of polycarbonate. And it'll just be basically sandwiched underneath the acrylic, and the acrylic will be bent. And the cups, these regular common cups, 2-ounce cup that everybody uses. You slide it in, snaps in. 1-ounce cup, snaps in. And there's a hole that will be cut out on the top of the acrylic. The gecko can eat from the bowl, but the bowl can't leave. The gecko can't knock it out ever. And we're testing all these products. The last thing I have, I'm not going to show you because I know you want me to go. But it's a gecko feeding wedge that can support 800 grams of Leachianus gecko. And it's magnetic.
Okay.
So a pair of adult leechies can have full weight on the feeder and it won't detach. Okay. So there's things I'm trying to do here if I don't lose all my life to bills and health to try to still change this thing. Building that rack, it's a fucking rack. But these cages and then that thermostat that's coming this year, bro. That thermostat technology is being developed right now. The box is built. The software is being engineered as we speak. And it is going to level every thermostat in the market. It's going to fuck it all to hell. And if you want to match it, it's going to cost you millions of dollars. Because we build it here in Louisiana. We got to build the circuit boards here, bro. If there's any malfunctions, if there's any issues, we don't have a container of these things to sell from China.
Right.
We just change the design upstairs.
Right.
So beta testing is going to be done by LSU Vet Hospital, the new Gulf Coast Aquarium, the veterinary team from both of those in their own personal collections, my collection. And guys, I got to tell you, this is running saltwater reef tanks automated from your phone. The product we just released last week tests 5 different parameters of saltwater aquariums on its own and feeds you the numbers to your phone. It's insane how much we had to dumb the tech down for Reptile use, except for the outlet that we had to bring up. Because in the aquarium world, every outlet turns on and off. None of them go doot, 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 doot.
Right.
And that's all we had to do was take out the on and off and replace it with the proportional outlet. And once the box is built, I saw it. Like I saw what I'm going to have in my beta testing hands in a month or 2. But we have to wait for the software engineer to develop that, because it's called Gator, and it's a whole different side. Like you're not going to have to use the aquarium software to do it. It's Gator will have its own Reptile software side, but we have to get it written, right? And it has to start. But the tech is already built. If you want to look into it, guys, look up Coral View Hydros. Coral View is spelled V-U-E, not V-I-E-W, V-U-E. And then Hydros, H-Y-D-R-O-S. Look up coralviewhydros.com and check out the aquarium controller line and realize that this is coming for Reptile people in the next year. And thank you for having me on the show, bro. I did a little bit of William Shatner there at the end, but if it wasn't for me plugging the timeshare, we wouldn't have a show, right?
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right.
But I love you.
Dude, thank you. I love you too, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, look, I would love to do a Not Gonna Stand For It show with you where you have me on mute or something. And we do reach out to people that really do need us. Because I will say this, meeting Jerry and seeing all the advantages that I had and all the disadvantages against him, it put me in a sad depression that I can't even describe to you, man. And I don't think I can do it alone, I don't think I can reach out to these guys by myself, bro.
Right.
I don't think I can. I'm holding back tears right now thinking about it. Because to truly talk to the person that does not have a fucking chance of the life they dreamed is absolutely destructive. So yeah, I'd love to help you in the future. I'd love to
we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to do something with you.
Dude, thank you for coming on. We're going to say goodnight now. I'm not even going to put you backstage because I got to take a shit. All right. So I'm going to go take a shit.
I'm going to be all teary-eyed.
And then I'll text you later on. Fucking don't do that because people fucking snip a fucking sound bit or a YouTube clip and they'll be like, yeah, these 2 crippled bitches crying. Right.
Oh, no, I don't mind crying, bro. Crying podcast. I don't mind crying. I'm a fairly strong man, I think.
Right.
That's BDE, big dick energy, remember?
That's right. That's right. Big dick energy.
Right,
that's right.
I love you guys.
All right, brother.
Thanks for listening to us.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us the whole time.
Yeah, and look for bullshit to come back. Look for bullshit to come back with this kind of shit. With a teleprompter and a fucking $4,000 camera and shit, stupid shit like that kind of dumb crap.
Well, I'm glad you're finally using that $4,000 camera after fucking 2 years. So fucking, that's awesome.
Honestly, man, it's really frustrated me to switch platforms from Nikon to Sony. So that's a lot of my excuse. I just hate it.
I get it. I fucking get
jive, but yeah.
Got to keep up with the kids though. Got to keep up with all the fucking kids.
I'll be honest, it really is absolutely incredible. So it really does take an incredible picture. I don't know if it'll even log up right now. Probably not. Nope. I went away.
All right.
Nope.
All right. We're out now. I'll talk to everybody later. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Thanks for the super chat. And I appreciate you guys. We will be back Sunday with my one black friend and my one white friend. Visit the Joe Vitale. Fucking what's up, man? Fucking
hit rewind.
Fucking Joe Vitale is fucking awesome. He's from Vintage Geeks podcast. Everybody, look that up on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Everybody, fucking thank you again, and we'll see you later. Sean, I'll talk to you later on, brother.
All right, dude. Good night.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.